Hello and welcome to another amazing part of What If Garp Changed the Future? Professional Ranter wrote this amazing story. Please support them. Don't forget to like, sub, and leave a comment. Now let's dive in. Music let out a breath she didn't realize she had been holding as she appeared in the heavens. Looking around, he could see Death and Sky in the distance bickering over something about Death flirting with someone. War, you're really alive, Music muttered to himself as he ran through the heavens towards a garden. This is amazing. Garp even turned something into a weapon just like War could, and it was a devil fruit. Slamming open the gates, Music entered into the orchard of devil fruits. Running through the trees, Music listened to the melodies singing from the fruits hanging from the trees, until she zeroed in on the rise fruit. The way the orchard worked is that when a devil fruit was hung upon one of the trees, it entered into circulation down within the mortal world. The ones within the heavens were simply containers of the fruit's energies. They couldn't be eaten. The trees acting as conduits required careful cultivation before they could be used to send devil fruits down into the mortal world. This was one of Music's greatest prides, as she was the one who tended the orchard as necessary. Looking at the rise fruit, Music smirked. "What do you see, Music?" Sky asked as he walked in, drinking mead from a horn as Death snacked on some ambrosia. "I had to look for the rise fruit. Does that seem odd to you?" Music answered with a question of his own. Death downed some nectar. "How the fuck would you lose track of where you hung any of the fruits? You still remember where you hung fruit centuries ago. From this tree there hangs only 3 other fruits. The tremor fruit, the soul fruit, and the fish fruit model azure dragon." Music couldn't keep the giant smile off her face as she looked at the new fruit hanging from the tree. All 3 fruits War had turned into weapons, altering their energies and increasing their power exponentially. She even spoke with the devils of each fruit, made deals with them. 3 fruits from the first batch of devil fruits I ever made, and the only ones ever touched by War. Their unique energies caused them to require a differently cultivated tree, and now the rise fruit that once hung from the opposite side of the orchard now hangs here. Garp. Music wiped at the tears that began to fall. He really is War. Her soul survived. She's been in the cycle of reincarnation all this time, and now he's starting to remember. The lost god of eternal war has returned. And Death flirted with him. Sky dodged as Death tried to hit him with her cup of nectar. Death sighed. "Not just that, I know all of Garp's past lives now too. They spoke to him in my eternity, and so did Cthulhu somehow." Death voiced her concern. "I don't know how it was possible, but Cthulhu seems to be linked to Garp's soul." Sky hummed and began to speak with her about what it could mean, but Music tuned it all out. The rise fruit commanded all of her attention. Its newly transformed melody, the most beautiful thing he had heard in a long time. "I need to see him. The fact that he was able to use the code of the West powers means he has some pretty important memories back." Sky pursed his lips. "Okay, just don't push things too far. We don't want to end up having to force him back to the heavens. Besides, there's something I want to check now that my suspicions of Garp being a reincarnation of a god have been confirmed, and to an extreme no less." The Moby Dick. "Gurarararara." Edward laughed. "Eat shit, Kong." Marco's sweat dropped as Whitebeard celebrated Kong's death. "I forgot how much Pops hated Kong." "Can you blame him?" Jozu asked. "Kong kept trying to attack Sphinx to get at him back when we were first starting out." I know. It's just been so long," Marco sighed. "What was up with Garp, by the way? That lightning was like a minx electro." "Roger once said that Garp wasn't using all of his attacks." Edward huffed as he remembered the conversation. "But he never mentioned it was something like that." Edward raised his glass of water and drank heavily, but he seemed so full of life, more alive than he has been in a long time. "I hope we can meet up soon. It'd be nice to see him again." "Oh, Marco. Bring out the booze, come on, it's a celebration. Kong is dead." "For the 100th time, no. Not until your health is where we need it." Marco snapped at him. "Zehahaha." Teach laughed. "Sorry, Pops. Guess you'll need to sneak some booze later tonight like you usually do." Edward sucked in a breath as Marco stared at him with murder in his eyes. "Jozu, throw every last bit of alcohol overboard. Seems I need to remind Pops why you listen to your doctor." Whole Cake Island. Linlin took a bite out of her pizza as she looked over the various reports of the day. "We'll need to keep an eye on Marine movements. With everything that's happened, the Marines will be looking to regain some favor with the public." Katakuri nodded. "Of course, Mama. I'll send out word to everyone." Linlin nodded as she shifted through reports on ships moving through her territories. "Any reports on Lola?" Katakuri jerked at the mention of his sister. Linlin had only ever talked of her in anger since she had rejected Prince Loki and left to find a husband of her own. She's been sailing around the East Blue recently. She's gotten a reputation of proposing to a lot of people, but she's been protecting her crew and has proven herself a highly capable captain. Katakuri spoke softly, eyeing Linlin to see her reaction. Any luck with her proposals? Katakuri shrugged, no luck so far. Linlin handed him a letter. Send this to her, make sure she gets it. Linlin returned to the reports, eyeing the latest one carefully. Send word to Kaido that a crew waving his flag attacked us. Tell him to keep his people under control. The granting wish. The ship had docked near a small island as Tom worked on making the necessary repairs from the battle. Scarlet was still asleep within the infirmary and Rebecca hadn't left her side since seeing her mother alive again. Most of the crew sat in the dining room, some of them quiet, and the toy soldier stood at attention near the entrance. Kuma watched as Ginny wrote down some things from the portable listener snail. Marines are moving around a lot, but we're close enough to Whitebeard's territory they won't risk coming here and running into us. Ginny reported to the crew and turned the snail off. Well, that's good to hear. Garp surprised them as he walked in, coat hanging from his shoulders and covered in bandages. Can you keep an ear out just in case? Captain? Ginny smiled at him. You're awake. Kuzan waved at him from where he was sitting with Alvia, his ice limbs currently inactive as the injuries were being treated properly. Glad you didn't start thrashing about in your sleep. Garp walked into the kitchen and grabbed a bottle of whiskey and poured himself a cup. How are you recovering? Lami gave me a few injections to accelerate the healing. I'm not allowed to make any limbs until the wounds are healed. Kuzan shrugged, taking a sip of his beer before returning to his soup. Saras was looking at Garp with wide eyes. Captain, how are you alive? Saras? Belmir yelled at her. I told you what I saw. Saras snapped at her, bleeding from eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and crushed under so much debris it would shatter bones. Look at him, he's covered in bandages yet he's moving around like he's fine. How could he have survived that attack? I didn't. Garp downed half his whiskey. I was dead. The crew looked at him in shock. What? Kuma voiced what all of them thought. Garp downed the rest of the whiskey. I was dead, met with death, things happened, I'm alive again. He shrugged. It's simple. I wouldn't exactly call it simple. Music suddenly appeared in the doorway. You did beat up both Death and Sky to return to life, finally learning the technique of carving, accepting to no longer hide your heritage, all while time was stopped. How's the teeth? Fisher Tiger jumped up and got into a fighting stance while the others tensed. Garp? Bogart asked. This is music, they also go by Maman Bridget, currently undercover, Garp explained as he let the shark teeth come out and he bit into some fruit. The teeth are fine, just getting used to using them like this again. Although this, purple lightning coursed over his body for a moment, is tough to keep under control given how long it's been since I last properly used it. Who's Death? Tiger asked Alvia as he stepped out of Music's way as she walked into the kitchen and started grabbing several ingredients. Do you need some help, ma'am? The toy soldier hopped up to Music. I may not be that skilled at cooking, but I can help chop some things. Ah, hello there, Kairos. Music smiled at Kairos. Kairos jerked back. Do you know my name? Death is a god and one of Garp's allies, Alvia whispered to Tiger. Garp knows what? Music kneeled down and held out his hand towards Kairos' stump and a guitar began to play. A metal leg appeared, replacing Kairos' missing leg. He stumbled slightly, having grown used to balancing on one leg. That blasted fruit still needs some work, but I can't safely take it out of circulation while it's wielded by a mortal. At least not yet. But this new leg should make a start. Garp put down a large pot on the stove. Spicy jambalaya with shrimp and chicken? Music perked up. Stew okra with tomatoes and pepper sounds good. A chocolate chess pie would be nice for afterwards. Music slowly turned to look at Garp's smirking face. Hello, my dear Maman Baron. The widest smile possible grew on Music's face and she let out a cheer and launched herself at Garp. You do remember. Garp caught her with a loud laugh. Vodododododoo. And Music laughed right alongside him. He hugged him back tightly, tearing up. Only you could have done that to a devil fruit war, he softly spoke, trying to stop himself from sobbing. It's been a long time, eternal musician. Garp set her down, whispering in her ear. Now about that food? Vodododododoo. Music laughed. I'll get on it, haven't made your favorites in a long time. How much do you remember? Bits and pieces, most of my memories are from my lives that came after, but you still need to explain to me what has happened. Garp's smile shrunk slightly. What happened with Emo? Music shook her head. Right to business, just give me some time. I just found out you're back, let me bask in that for a bit. Garp? Alvia called out. What are you talking about? And what the hell is music talking about, you fighting death? Belmir asked, Sarah's nodding rapidly next to her. Since when did you have the teeth of a fishman? Fisher Tiger asked, deciding to focus on something simpler. Music shot Garp a look. He chuckled and backed away and started getting out several ingredients. Well, to answer that last question, Music began, Garp is part of a unique species. It's similar to people who are part of 2 different species but several more. Captain Hallow possessed 2 other species alongside her human part, a mink and the long-armed tribe. Similar to Garp, this allowed her to use the electro powers of a mink and her arms were strengthened. However, Garp also possesses alongside the blood of a fishman, the blood of every single sentient living mortal species in the world, as well as all the extinct ones. The species Garp is part of is called the Gardens. However, there are only ever 2 at a time that possess the blood of every sentient mortal species, living and extinct. Garp is one of them, and the name of those 2 are the Gardens Firsts. Why would they be named that? Alvia asked, book and pen in hand. Where did you get those? Kazan asked her with a sweat drop. Because the first of the Gardens were the first humans to ever exist, Music revealed, Adam and Garp's first life Eve. During the War of the Divine, all of the realms were fused into one, and this caused several problems that led to one. Most of the other mortal species aside from humanity were on the brink of extinction, and Adam and Eve underwent a ritual that transformed them and changed all of humanity at the same time, all of the mortals. It allowed for all species to be able to have children with other species safely. Garp's first life, Eve, became known as the mother of mortals, and Adam became known as the father of mortals. The ritual made it so that only 2 beings who possessed the blood of every mortal species could exist at one time. Magic is a fickle thing. Named after Adam and Eve's first home, the species they had become was named the Gardens. Lami let out a slew of curses as she walked in. I don't care what he's called, he should be in bed healing. Glad to see those habits haven't changed, Music muttered. Anyway, when Garp died, Death came to collect his soul. I don't know everything that happened during that, but they fought, Sky came in, Garp kicked both of their asses, they gave up, he came back to life. As for what Garp is talking about, he's just regaining his memories of his past lives. Anyways, I can't let you guys go after Doflamingo for a while. Why? Kairos asked, his voice tinged with outrage. Music sighed, simple fact is I need him alive so Caesar Clown continues to have his protection. I need that for a few more years before I have Clown killed. It's a whole thing, but there is some news regarding that at least. Music held her hand out and the sword that Garp had created from the Rise fruit appeared. This sword, once it pierced Doflamingo, halved his remaining lifespan. Kairos perked up at that fact. Really? That's wonderful to hear. Lami grabbed Garp's hand and dragged him out of the room. Yeah, get back to bed. Music chuckled. Anyways, let me whip up some New Orleans food for all of you. I can't answer much else right now, rules of the divine and all that. Oh, and Kairos, take this. Music handed him the sword. You'll need a proper sword for when it's time to take Doflamingo down. Thank you, the Tontatas. Kairos jerked up, but Music put a comforting hand on his head. I'll tell them what I can and give them a snail so you can talk with them. But I think right now you need to sail the seas. She pointed at the rest of the crew who had returned to what they were doing. There are things you must learn, and you will become what your family needs of you. Kairos looked down at the sword in thought. Fusha Village. Sengoku sat outside of Makino's bar with a bottle of applewood in hand. He let out a sigh from it and spun the cap off and took a swig. Sengoku, sir? A group of Marines startled seeing him sitting there. What are you doing here? Garp and I used to come here to get a drink and take a break, I'm reminiscing, Sengoku answered. He looked at them, his eyes demanding an answer as to why they are here. Someone reported effects similar to Conqueror's Haki coming from here, one of the Marines answered. That would be me. Sengoku took a long drink of the whiskey. Sengoku took a deep breath. My anger got the better over my self-control when I heard that Kong was the one who killed Yumi. She was a friend of mine. Ing let out a bleat as she walked up to him and softly head-butt his arm. Sorry, Ing. Sengoku started petting his pet goat. Ah, the revolutionary, sir? A Marine got a glint in his eyes and his comrades looked at him in shock. Didn't know back then, and it doesn't change how I view her. She was my friend, she was murdered, and it hurt Garp so badly he went on a spiral of hunting down any poisoners he could discover. Sengoku chuckled darkly. Only 100th of them ended up arrested, the rest we buried, sometimes not intact. Some of those hunting sprees Garp would go on, where he'd take down corrupt Marines and plenty of pirates. He only went on them because he thought he found new evidence that would lead to Yumi's killer. The amount of trouble Kong caused by killing Yumi? Sengoku shook his head. One of the Marines covered the other Marine's mouth before he could say anything else. Of course, sir, we understand. Sorry for the trouble. The group quickly walked away. You heard that right? About those times Garp went crazy catching corrupt Marines. He asked his friend, and then Sengoku could hear no more. Thanks, Dad. Razanandi came out of the bar and sat down next to him. Why did they focus on Garp's hunts? Lot of corrupt Marines lived in fear of those hunts, Sengoku answered. Especially once I started helping him as Fleet Admiral. Word will spread fast because it came from me. It's going to damage Kong's reputation further. I couldn't help Garp with taking him down. I'm gonna do what I can to make sure no one will look on him positively. Razananti shivered. Luffy's reactions to everything, I've never seen him like that. He's like Garp, a berserker or whatever involves bloodlust with him, Sengoku shrugged. I'm not certain what Garp truly is now, but whatever is Luffy seems to have got it while it skipped over Dragon. As if he had been summoned, Dragon came out, a small smile uncharacteristically on his face. I'll try to visit again, but there's going to be a lot of things happening now that Kong's dead. Thank you, Razanandi, for helping me. You too, Uncle Seni. Sengoku offered the bottle to him. Your mom loved apples. This was one of her favorite whiskeys. Take the rest of it and enjoy it. Good luck, Dragon, you're gonna need it now. The elders will try to tighten their leash as people lash out at them as Kong's dirty laundry is aired out now that he's no longer putting in any effort to hide them. I've no doubt there's some important people there that were well liked. Dragon took the bottle. Thank you, Uncle Seni. Be safe. Dragon took a small drink before walking away. Bye, Pops. Luffy yelled after him as he ran towards Goa, a backpack stuffed full of dynamite hanging off his shoulders, the rest of his siblings following after him. Oh gods, Luffy, no. Razananti yelled out, jumping to his feet and running after them. Sengoku laughed as he watched, petting Ing. You would have loved this, Yumi. Wano. Kaido looked at the wound, the footage back, and let it play again. One moment Garp was buried under a pile of rubble, and the next he was almost to Punk Hazard. His movement doesn't match with the footage. No matter how much I slow it down, it's as though moments are missing from the footage, but the feed has no cuts. It's unedited, so how did he move from Dressrosa to Punk Hazard like that? Kaido wound the footage back again to when Garp had disappeared from his ship and then attacked Kong. From one frame to the next, even slowed down, it was like he teleported. His speed is vastly different than what I expected. Kaido smirked as his eyes lit up in excitement. This will be fun. Iwai Kaido, Queen called out as he came in with King. What should we do about the attack on Doflamingo? Orororo. Kaido shook with laughter. Who cares? Garp has finally come to New World, and he comes in sending the Marines into a panic to regain favor. We'll be fighting them soon, no doubt. Should we consider expanding your territory, sir? Jack asked as he carried in a gourd of sake for Kaido. Perhaps it would benefit us and maybe I'll be able to fight the other emperors, Kaido chuckled as he grabbed the gourd. Garp's new attacks, using a weapon, his abilities, I'll have to seek him out. Kaido's battle lust leaked out of his smile as he took a long drink. Orochi wants to meet with you, by the way, Queen said. He wants more smile fruits for the prisons. As they continued to talk, King couldn't hear them, his eyes on the footage, Bogart a speck in the background fighting Kizaru. The Rainbow Warriors, the Wraiths of the Moon, the Eclipse Slayers, the Enders of the Sun. Attacks from 4 different tribes, could he have learned from them all? Could he have learned from the tamers of dragons like me? Could members of my tribe still be alive? Bogart's attacks had sent King spiraling. Each named attack he used had come from a different Lunarian tribe, each one a potential sign that there were more of his people alive out there in the world. And it terrified him. Baltigo. Hack sighed as he watched people running about, bartering for goods being sold, people of all ages playing and smiling. It was a stark difference to just yesterday when many of them had been brought to tears when they thought Garp had been killed. Many of them wore clothes that proudly displayed their star tattoos, tattoos that hid their slave brands. To see the man who had freed them, who had given them hope after they had lost it for so long, seemingly killed, had been too much for them to bear witness to. Weeping as they had been, their cries turned to cheers as Garp appeared and bested Kong. Some of them even sang along with him as he sang Drunken Sailor. To think he doesn't understand the influence he now has, Hack hummed. He fought like a real beast. You think Dragon can do that? Koala asked. Ivankov laughed. I thought Dragon was nothing like his father, now who knows just how similar they are. Dragon called, he's on his way back. I wonder where he went that was so important, Mihawk muttered as he read the newspaper, stopping to cut out the parts of it referencing Bogart. The heavens. Sky walked through the fields of rest. where souls resided and came to terms with their death or waited for someone close to them to join them before they moved on into the cycle of reincarnation. So long as they weren't one of the souls set to go through punishment for their actions in life, that is, but that was within the hells. There they are. Sky zeroed in on a small group of souls. Okay, what in all the 9,000 hells are you doing now? Shaper asked, Shaker and Death following after him. Just testing a theory, Sky answered distractedly. He walked up to the souls of Joel D. Roger, Portgas D. Rouge, Kazuki Odin, and Kazuki Toki. Hello there, I know we don't often come here, but I needed to ask you something regarding Monkey D. Garp. Oh? Roger raised an eyebrow. What do you want to know? Sky summoned the axe of Chak to his hand and slammed it down on the group, generating a massive lightning bolt with it. Sky, what the fuck? Shaker yelled out, running to grab him. But the three shocked gods froze at what they saw. The axe was stopped by a shield of magic. The rune at the center was a familiar one, unique to only one mage. You couldn't let us relax a bit longer? Roger asked, the magic creating the shield flowing from his hands. Hello Merlin, Sky smirked, then looked at the others. Did 9 tails appeared behind Rouge, Ewelix, a panther appeared next to Toki, Suku. And of course Futsunushi, Odin's orange kimono changed to a white kimono. So, how long have you guys had your memories? Since our deaths, Rouge answered, staying close to Roger. Alright, that's it, you guys are gonna explain everything to us. Death snapped at them, right now. The granting wish. Music smiled as the crew drifted to their rooms to fall asleep, Alvia helping Kuzan to his room first, and Kairos, not needing to sleep, went to the infirmary to watch over Scarlet and Rebecca. Missed these gatherings, she chuckled as she began to clean up the dishes. Yeah, you and Samedi were the life of the party in the early days, you kept us sane, Garp said as he walked into the room. Thank you for not telling them about me being a god. Fuck, that feels weird despite the memories, Garp chuckled. Yeah, just trying to not put pressure on you to remember. If you remember everything, we'd be forced to bring you back to the heavens by the rules we made after your second death. She was referring to how Eve had first died after leaving Eden, then again during their battle against Cthulhu. Figured it was something like that, Garp nodded. Now, what happened in the old timeline and what happened with Emo? I've given you what time I could, Garp let out a frustrated sigh, but you can't keep this stuff hidden from me, not now after what has happened. Music pursed her lips. Yeah. Where to begin that? There's just so much. She leaned against the counter, hands gripping it tightly. We fucked up royally. Yamato hid away, clutching a bag of food close to herself. As some of the beast pirates ran past, she let out a sigh and climbed up and into one of her hiding spots. Taking out one of the onigiri, she bit into it as she looked at the newspaper she had nicked. He's finally in the new world. And these powers and skills he suddenly is showing off. Damn it, I wish I could see the footage. Her eyes lit up at the pictures of Garp, including one of him holding up Kong's head. Was Odin aware of what he was capable of? This lightning, these techniques, no one seems to have been aware of them at all. Where the hell did that brat go? Yamato hid further within the shadows as a beast pirate stomped below her. It should be easier to get word to him now that he is within New World, but how? Yamato quietly ate her food as she thought, perhaps if I figured out where the newspapers come from I could use that to get word to Monkey D. Garp. The granting wish. What did you do? Garp asked Music softly. Music took a shaky breath. After your death alongside the others in the fight against Cthulhu, there were a few things we learned. The blood oaths given to you by Bellona and Erlangshin caused them to also die when you died. Losing 9 of our ranks was a steep blow. Bellona and Erlangshin died? Garp's eyes widened. Had I known the oaths they swore to me would cause that dash. We're pretty sure they knew they could end up dead, Music confided. The oath ritual they used when swearing fealty to you. After the battle we had a few minor things to handle, but Cthulhu's death marked the end of the War of the Divine. We waited for any other of the great ones to come after us, but aside from Cthulhu not one other member of that pantheon came after our world. Music took a long drink of her booze and sat on the kitchen's counter. With nearly all of our intelligence gatherers gone, we went into this new age pretty much blind. We tried a lot of things, trying to figure out where our new pantheon would stand now that we were no longer at war. We made a lot of mistakes, Musen Kibutsuji being one of them. He was the result of one of Death's attempts to create new demigods without requiring the direct interference of gods. Garp jerked at the name, his memories from his life as Kaijuro Rengoku telling him what that name meant. I'm not going to ask for any further details there for now, but trust me, I will want answers. As we worked, I slowly began to introduce devil fruits into the mortal realm, since we no longer needed them to help us fight other gods. While the others went at it from their angles, being more direct in their means, I went at it how you had talked about it when we first started using mortal dreams to make the devil fruits. Music smiled softly as he wet his lips with another swig of his drink. I made my orchard and started to hang the fruits. Magic was reintroduced to the mortals, then they began to reach technologies once lost to them. Sometime after that we stepped back and began to simply observe. I'd created several more generations of devil fruits by that point, even taking inspiration of the energies of the 3 fruits whose devils you made deals with. Things seemed to have finally finished healing from the war of the divine. So how did the world government happen then? Garp asked. It's clear you guys don't agree with its actions and policies. Music gripped her fist tightly. The embodiment of Lilith's wish came from 10,000 years in the future, from a timeline of another Ragnarok. I still have the writings of what caused that one somewhere in the Heavenly Court's archive. Her wish was like Luffy's, vague but still specific enough we could reasonably fulfill it, and the gods of that timeline had deemed it so. It was the first time we changed the flow of time to avoid Ragnarok, but we jumped too fast into it. We chose a champion to help us prevent the old timeline from occurring, but given how far in the future it had happened, it was far more difficult to determine what they needed to do. So we chose someone knowledgeable, well-connected, and strong. We chose Emu, who had just begun their journey. Their journey? Music sked. In the old timeline, Emu became the fair ruler of a great kingdom after a long journey. But its clear details were missing from that story, for Emu possesses knowledge of how to make powers that imitate devil fruits, how to extend mortals' lives, and as you saw, how to harm gods. The spell that had forcefully fused Shaker and Shaper together, it had been meant for death. We had gathered to confront Emu, but they used magic and powers that shouldn't have been known to the mortals to imprison Lilith's wish, and so long as she was bound to them, our laws at the time prevented us from touching Emu. Even now, despite the changes to our laws, we can't touch them, for Lilith's wish has been forced to give them protections of the stars. From what Death said, you guys twisted and broke your rules to help Emu at first. I'm guessing this gave them the knowledge you mentioned, Garp pondered, but I'm not bound to your rules and laws. I could undo some of the protections without putting you guys at risk. Music's eyes widened. That's right. We imbued the laws onto our very souls 1,000 years after the War of the Divine ended, but you were dead, so you're unbound from them. Even our laws about having to return you to the heavens once all of your memories return don't bound you. We could be able to shatter Emu's protections, or at the very least free Lilith's wish and remove the protections of the stars. You keep mentioning her. Who is Lilith? I don't know much of her. Not much knowledge of her was sent back, Music admitted. All I know is she was called the Queen of Bandits, a title she had fought long and hard for. Now, what happened in the old timeline? Garp asked, his mind turning to the memory of Luffy's execution that had been shown to him in his dreams. I've seen bits and pieces of it, most likely all of it shown to me through Luffy's wish. Most recently was Odama and Boa's murders at the hands of Kong. What? Music titled his head. They weren't. Luffy's wish didn't show us everything that happened. He rubbed his chin and thought, that's odd. Perhaps there's something else there we don't know about yet. As for what happened in the old timeline of Luffy's wish, another Ragnarok came, different from the other one we had worked to avoid. After Luffy's execution, the imbalance in the world started by Caesar Clown's smile fruits boiled over, caused by Sakazuki using Judge's lineage factor to breed an army of smile fruit-imbued mindless soldiers to make an unstoppable marine force. The fuck is a lineage factor? What he used to genetically create all those soldiers of his that Kuzan slaughtered and to modify Reiju, Yanji, Ichiji, and Niji into the assassins that they were when you first met them. This massive imbalance caused the very laws of nature to change. Music shivered at the memories. It started with those who had eaten smile fruits. What sanity they had shattered, and they turned feral, attacking everything living in sight. By the time control had begun to be regained, the Zoan fruits were altered. The uneaten fruits became the animals while those eaten forcefully changed into a new hybridized form. These beasts carved out their territories and attacked all who entered. The same happened with the Logias. Those uneaten became storms while those eaten altered the wielders into monsters that claimed their territory. Paramecias, as they altered, changed all of nature, making new rules over and over, while those that had been eaten became these strange monsters. The world had once more become divided into hundreds of territories commanded by beings driven by madness, just like when all the warriors of old were revived and driven mad. That was a lot of work for my group to clean up. We couldn't free them from the madness back then, and I can assume the use of the old timeline couldn't undo the damages either, Garp guessed. Yep, hence why we took Luffy's wish and sent it back in time, although not that far back, and Ragnarok wasn't the only reason, but that's too much information at that point. We've only sent one other wish back since then, and that was just to create the Rise fruit, which was a case of a closed-loop paradox. Music chuckled. When we first met Luffy's wish, he immediately said he had to speak with Ocean privately as directed by the US of the old timeline. Garp perked up at the mention of Ocean. Then we learned of what had happened and began to debate who to choose as a champion, with Luffy's wish and Ocean insisting on you, while we now took our time to better consider who the champion should be, avoiding one of our mistakes with Emu. Why would Ocean insist on me when he didn't get a chance to meet me during this lifetime? Garp asked, puzzled. That will be explained when you meet with her. Music smirked. Anyways, it's clear there are parts that we don't know about because Luffy's wish did not share it with us, and I can't share too much with you due to our laws. The only other thing I can share with you is this: there is a demon out there that goes by the name Top Musica. I can't tell you where it is located, but red-haired Shanks will tell you. I also recommend reconnecting with Zephyr. Zephyr, he's in New World? Yeah, he could be able to help you when it is time to attack Marie Geos. Music leaned back and took a long drink. Now enough with the melodramatics, you're going to help me come up with some new devil fruits. I can't bounce ideas off the others like I could with you, and we've got a lot of work to catch up on. Garp smiled at Music's excitement. Sure, let's get started, Maman Baron. The heavens, Death, Sky, Shaker, and Shaper looked at the four revealed gods with varying levels of surprise. So, what gave it away? Rouge asked, sitting back down and leaning into Roger's side. Garp, being War's reincarnation, gave me some ideas. Sky shrugged his shoulders, although what really gave me reason to suspect it was the fact that you talked to him from your grave. Told you that would tip them off. Odin smirked at Roger while Toki giggled. Death whispered something into Shaper's ear. He nodded and walked off. Where's Geb going? Roger asked, then dodged Shaker trying to punch him. You got one question and you wasted it, now answer our questions. Why the fuck did you guys not rejoin us? Shaker's hands were shaking in rage. We could have used your help with everything. Emu, the world government, Shaper and I's curse, Luffy's wish. So many things. Toki looked away, getting our memories back right after our deaths, which for each of us was extremely painful and traumatizing in their own rights. For a time we were stuck trying to sort our memories and come to terms with everything. I was also waiting for Rouge to join me up here, then I was helping her deal with all of that, Roger admitted, petting one of Rouge's tails. As we finished sorting the memories of our past lives, a man made of stars approached us and said that we cannot reveal ourselves just yet. Rouge revealed, that was a couple of years ago. Death's eye twitched. Of course Luffy's wish had to make things difficult. She sighed out, pinching the bridge of her nose. Not apologizing for it. Luffy's wish called out from the distance. The U's of the old timeline told me to do that. Can I kill him? I really want to kill him. Death summoned her trident to her hand and prepared to throw it. I'm tempted to let you, but please don't, Sky chuckled. Anyway, now that we are reunited, I'll want you guys to help us with some stuff. Hey Shaker, how about we make Wapple metal into a naturally occurring metal and screw over Wapple? Shaker smirked. Oh fuck yeah, that fucker disrespects one of the few devil fruits I designed, and now that Shaper and I can work together properly again, I should be able to make it possible. She pursed her lips. And yeah, Roger can help us out with some magic shit to help make the veins of it and all that, I guess. Death looked to the side. Yeah, but first things first. She grabbed Sky and Shaker and pulled them back with her. Consequences. My friends. Great Serpent yelled out in joy. You're back. Toki's eyes widened. Oh shit. She cursed, and then the four were wrapped in a tight snake hug by Great Serpent. She ran off the moment I told her, Shaper said as he ran up to the others. Great Serpent nuzzled her cheek against Rouge, letting out joyful hisses. I see the light. Roger barely yelled out as they were squeezed tightly. You're already dead. Death smirked at him. I see another light. Let's leave them in Great Serpent's hug for a while, Sky laughed. Music is going to love this little reveal once they get back. Scarlet let out a groan at the bright light shining in her eyes. Oh good. Finally awake, a young voice spoke to her and the light turned off. Come on, open those peepers and get up. I'm already having to deal with my idiot of a captain moving about, don't need you sleeping in. Scarlet grunted as she forced her eyes open, to a roof that was not her home. Where am I? She slowly sat up, feeling incredibly stiff. A young girl appeared in her sight, standing on a chair to be able to properly look at her. I'm Lami, I'm your doctor. This is the granting wish, you can come in now, Bex. The door slammed open and there was a young girl, looking incredibly like her daughter. Mom. Rebecca jumped into her mother's arms, crying her eyes out. Rebecca? You've grown so much, how? Lami sighed. Glad I didn't have to witness that happen with the other lady Garp brought back, or Tiger. So, She clapped her hands together, gaining the attention of mother and daughter. Let's get the hard part out of the way. You died some years ago and you were resurrected back to the world of the living. Fishman Island, Royal Palace. And you're certain it was Vander Decken? Neptune asked his Minister of the Right. It was, and from what we have uncovered it was by Garp's hand, the Minister of the Right explained. My apologies, we did not inform you sooner. You were still explaining everything to Queen Odoheim. Father. Fukaboshi yelled out with Ruboshi and Mamboshi following right behind him. What is going on? The guards are running everywhere. We've heard word of Vander Decken being dead, and the infirmary is closed off. And the news. Was that really Fisher Tiger? Ruboshi asked. Can Shirahoshi come out of her tower now? Mamboshi pondered. Neptune whispered to his Minister of the Right and then sat back up in his throne. After Monkey D. Garp's visit to our kingdom and our palace, things have changed. My children, so much has happened. Father. Shirahoshi cried out, swimming into her father's arms and hugging him tightly. I'm free now? I don't need to hide away anymore? Neptune laughed. We're still doing some investigations, but you don't need to stay in that tower anymore. Vander Decken can't hurt you anymore. He hugged his daughter tightly. I'm so sorry I couldn't free you sooner. Neptune, what are you crying for? A voice echoed out and the four royal heirs froze. Looking to the doorway, they saw their mother, smiling, with the Minister of the Right and some guards right behind her. You said it yourself, he was difficult to catch. A mother? Fukaboshi stuttered, his brothers tearing up at the sight. Fukaboshi, Ruboshi, Mamboshi, my little boys. Odoheim smiled at them. Come give your mother a hug. That was all they needed. They swam into their mother's arms, the great warrior princes crying like the children they had grown up from far too soon. Mama? Shirahoshi teared up and with a nudge from her father swam to her them and picked the four others up into a tight hug, sobbing at the touch of her mother she had missed so much. Neptune smiled at the sight and wrapped his arms around his family, that was whole once again. Garp, I cannot thank you enough for what you have given me. My boys can feel like children again, my daughter free of her stalker and my wife returned to me. I owe you a debt I can never repay. Outside the palace, within the Fishman district, the mood was far from happy. That damn human. Hody Jones yelled out, punching some coral into pieces. Who does he think he is? He was shaking in pure rage. Increase production of the pills, increase their power. He yelled at Zio. We'll evolve even beyond fishmen into a superior divine race. He destroyed more coral, and will make that traitor Fisher Tiger pay. Near the graveyard of ships the Sun Pirates were waiting for their captain to return. You guys saw Captain Tiger fighting there, right? One of them asked another. Yes, that was Big Brother T, Jinbe confirmed for his crewmates as he finally arrived. What are you talking about, Jinbe? Aladdin asked, arms crossed with his finger tapping against his arm. How is he alive? Jinbe sighed. When Monkey D. Garp came here, he brought with him a fruit. You saw it in action during his battle at Dressrosa, the Rise fruit. So Garp creates a devil with it? Oh no. I don't know what that was. Jinbe scratched the back of his head. It allows the eater to resurrect one person before leaving. He stole it from a celestial dragon and used it to bring back Big Brother T and one other person, which I'm certain you will find out about. Aladdin's eyes widened. So he's really back? And by a human of all things? Aladdin chuckled. Well, whatever Monkey D. Garp is. Why is he sailing with Garp then? Garp has the goal of destroying Marie Geos, and Brother Ti's knowledge of it would allow him to maximize saving as many slaves as he can, Jinbe explained. The Sun Pirates looked at each other for a moment, before they let out a loud cheer at the reveal. Jinbe smiled at the sight. Even though he is not with us, Brother T still inspires them. Thank you, Garp, for helping him to continue his work. Jinbe briefly frowned though. I just hope Arlong doesn't hurt anyone when he learns. Kokoyashi Village. Nami flinched as she heard Arlong roar. Walking up to Arlong Park, she really wished she could leave to go rob some pirates or anything else, but she had to come back before he thought she abandoned her village and did something to them. Why is he working with those damn humans? Arlong shouted, Nami flinching at his rage. Standing before the gate, Nami hesitated to push it open. He wants more maps before I head out again, no doubt, Nami thought to herself. Pushing the gate open, she stepped into a destroyed plaza, Arlong standing at the center of the destruction. Geez, what bastard pissed you off this time? She slipped into her mask that she wore around them with ease. If they're still here in the east, I could go rob them or lure them here if you want to get Dash. Be silent. Arlong punched her and sent her flying into the wall. Brother T, how is he alive? His crew remained silent. letting him vent his anger that they shared in. Why is he sailing alongside humans? Hatchan peeked over the wall to see what was causing all the ruckus. Red tinged Arlong's eyes as he looked at Nami, the only human he had ever let wear his crew's mark. Looking upon it on her left arm, he let out a growl, lunged forward, and his hand lashed out. Nami let out a piercing scream as Arlong ripped off part of her left arm, just below the tattoo. Her left foot was also crushed underneath Arlong's stomp from when he had lunged forth. Bones snapped and flesh mashed underneath Arlong's attack against. "Whoa, Arlong, what are you doing?" Hatchan yelled, jumping over the wall and rushing to Nami's side while the rest of the crew dragged Arlong away. "Chew, let's get you to a doctor, Nami, that looks like it hurts." He picked her up in two of his arms and ran out of Arlong Park back into the village. Some of the villagers gasped at the sight as Hatchan ran right to the village's clinic and slammed the door open. "The fuck you want, Nami?" Neko snapped. "If you're here to buy bandages, it's gonna cost dough. Get her on the bed now." He stood up and got out several tools. "Bandages are over there, gauze is in there, strings in there." He pointed to several places as he put tourniquets on the damaged limbs, stemming the blood flow as he wiped at them to get a better look at the wounds, but Nami was writhing about in pain, making him difficult to get a proper look. "Hold her down. I need to know what I'm dealing with so I can be able to stop any risk of infection." He noticed some blood flowing from a head wound that had been hidden by her hair. "Gods damn it. Keep her still, I need to stop the bleeding before she passes out from blood loss." He yelled at Hatchan, not caring about the consequences that could be brought down on him for that. "Right, sorry." Hatchan jumped and held Nami down. Neko quickly wrapped the damaged limbs and cleaned what he could of Nami's head wound. "Will she be okay? She's missing most of her left arm, her left foot won't heal right, and she has a possible concussion. If she's able to string a sensible sentence together after a month of recovery, that will be a miracle." Neko started shaving some of Nami's hair away as he got ready to stitch the wound close. "I'll need your help during the initial procedures. I don't have enough hands and I don't have any nurses. Keep her still for now and listen to what I tell you to do carefully. If she gets an infection, we risk losing her." Neko threaded the string. "I really need to invest in restraints. Keep her head completely still. Fuck, I wish I could afford to buy sedatives." Neko cursed as Hatchan held Nami's head with two of his hands as the doctor began putting in the stitches. "What were you thinking, Arlong? Nami's part of our crew, she's our friend," Hatchan thought, not fully understanding the situation Nami was in. The granting wish. Scarlett's eyes were wide as Rebecca finished explaining everything that had happened since she had died at Diamante's hands, the explanation helping her remember her missing memories. "Oh my dear, I'm so sorry." She hugged her daughter tightly. Garp walked in, Kairos right beside him. "Oh, sorry, didn't mean to intrude on this moment." Garp apologized. Kairos made a noise. "Ki here just wanted to see how you were doing." "Toy soldier." Scarlett smiled at him. "Oh, thank you for protecting my daughter." Kairos was silent for a moment. "She still doesn't remember me." "Of course you asked me to, and I was honor-bound to your dying request." "I am surprised to see you not wearing a Marine uniform, Vice Admiral Garp." Scarlett nodded at him. "Just Garp now. I have an offer for a safe place you can go to with your daughter. You'll be able to continue raising her." Garp nodded at them. "Will you be joining us, soldier?" Rebecca asked. "No, I will be sailing with this crew." Kairos shook his head. "I will be gathering some allies to help free Dressrosa." "Be safe, Rebecca, be happy." Kairos quickly walked away before Rebecca could say anything, unable to say anything else to Scarlett. "I'll let you two get ready." Garp stepped back into the hallway. "Take your time, all that you need." He closed the door and went after Kairos. "You okay?" "She still doesn't remember me," Kairos muttered. "Despite returning from death, her memories are still missing. Why must this curse haunt me?" Kairos looked at his wooden hands, wishing he could cry, but all he could do was look. Garp kneeled down and put his hand on Kairos' shoulder. "I wish I could help you, I'm sorry. Maybe it's for the best, the blood that stains my hands." Kairos lurched forward when Garp hand-chopped him. "None of that, this is because of Doflamingo and you don't deserve this. Just because you have blood on your hands doesn't mean you don't deserve happiness." Garp scolded him. "Now come on." He lifted him up onto his shoulder. "Let's go let the rest of the crew know about you joining up with us." Kairos turned to look back at the infirmary. "Do I deserve happiness? Scarlett, would you still love me if you could remember me?" Kairos sat in the dining room of the ship, listening to Tom working away at setting up his and Fisher Tiger's rooms, although he had tried to refuse it since he didn't need to sleep. Tom had responded with, "Just because you don't sleep doesn't mean you won't need your own place. Everyone deserves their own place." That had been the end of any argument Kairos attempted, and Tom had gotten to work right away. The crew had been very welcoming when the announcement was made. Even once he had explained who he was and what he had done, they didn't care. "We've got plenty of blood staining our hands, some of us worked for the Marines after all," Kazan had explained when Kairos expressed his surprise. Some of the others had laughed, explaining that they had killed way more people than him. They expressed their regrets for some of the deaths and joy for others, but that they had to live with their choices, and so they did. It reminded him of King Riku and the care he had shown Kairos. Of how welcoming he was, of the lack of judgment he gave Kairos, unlike the people who watched him fight in the Colosseum. What mattered to them is the why of one's actions, the who that was affected, the how you reached that point, the what you did came last in their questions. The sense that they had of one's character, it was a surprise to see so many people with that after he had only seen that with the Riku family. Kairos looked to the side, at the sword that Garp had created from the Rise fruit and used to have Doflamingo's lifespan. "You won't be able to wield it in your hands as they are right now," Music said as she walked into the room, "but once you're freed it will be perfect in your hands. Although it won't be able to have lifespans in half anymore, that was a one-time thing, part of the deal Garp made with Rise. I have agreed to sail with them. We do not yet have the forces to be able to take on Doflamingo, but I will be able to gain allies by sailing with them." Kairos looked down at his new metal leg that Music had given him, tapping it with one of his hands and listening to the sound it made. "But why me? One of the Tontatas would be able to better help them. With my toy body I don't have enough strength to do anything worthwhile for them." "I disagree," Music said, sitting down next to him. "You have something the Tontatas don't, experience. The others have plenty of that themselves perhaps, but you have the experience of gaining favor as you did during your time as a gladiator, something they don't properly have. You understand how to rile up a crowd, motivate them, give them something to cheer for." "Kairos," Music held the sword up, "even though no one can truly remember you right now, despite you no longer having your reputation, you managed to inspire the Tontatas, to inspire others in Dressrosa to look deeper. Even though that ended with them becoming toys themselves, they didn't blame you for their fate, they blamed Doflamingo. You can do the same, helping the crew in their mission." Kairos carefully took the sword. He stared at it silently for a moment, pondering the god's words. He jumped when a leather strap was offered to him. Looking up he saw Garp smiling softly at him. "Here, let me help you put it on." Garp carefully tied the sword to Kairos' back. "When you take this blade up, may it be as your truest self. May it guide true, may it cut the air with certainty, and when its job is done may it be put down to rest." Kairos jumped down to the ground, the weight of a sword familiar to him. It relaxed him in a way he hadn't felt in a long time. "Thank you, Captain." Kokoyashi Village. Neko fell into his chair with a huff. Nami finally no longer in danger. Hatchan just fell to the floor. He had never worked like that before and he was exhausted. Humans are difficult to heal. Most people would be difficult to heal with those injuries, even fishmen. Neko shot at him with a glare. He let out a heavy sigh. "I'll set up a cast for her foot. She'll need some sort of prosthetic for it for the rest of her life. Her arm will be difficult for her to adjust to, and we'll need to keep an eye on her once she wakes up to make sure her head injury was only superficial. Don't know how this will affect her work for you guys." Hatchan scratched his head. Arlong won't be happy." He got back to his feet and walked to the door. "Tell Arlong." Nami's voice stopped Hatchan from opening the door. Neko jumped to his feet and rushed to her side. "Tell Arlong he'll get his maps and then I'll head back out to get more of his money." Neko sighed. "I'll get to work on the cast and a cap for your stump, but you need to rest for at least 48 hours here before it's safe for you to get back to helping these bastards. I may hate you, but my oath as a doctor takes priority over that. Tell Arlong she just needs 2 days." Neko rubbed at his eyes. "Then could you come back to help me with watching her after you rest up? She needs to be watched and it's best if 2 people do it in shifts and none of the other villagers will be willing to help her." "Okay, I'll be back later." Hatchan waved and left. Nami looked at her ruined limbs. "At least it wasn't my dominant hand, I can still make maps. Stealing will be more difficult, but when hasn't it been a challenge? I'll free my village, nothing's changed." Her eyes fluttered, and for a moment in the window she saw a man in loose clothes looking at her in horror, but when she refocused he disappeared. "All right Nami, try to focus on the light and follow it with your eyes." Neko quickly drew her attention away. The granting wish. The crew stood on deck as Scarlet and Rebecca stepped out onto the deck. "Your offer, we would appreciate it greatly." Scarlet nodded her head at Garp in thanks. Music stepped forward. "It's a quaint little village, they don't ask questions and they protect their people. Garp has family living there, I've no doubt they'll welcome you with open arms." Garp chuckled. It's my grandkids. I've no doubt you'll figure out who they are once you see them, even if only one of them is related to me by blood. Ah, but who cares about that? Garp smiled widely. Wahaha. Rebecca smiled at Garp. She then quickly ran over to Kairos and hugged him. Thank you, soldier, I'll miss you. Kairos hesitated to hug her back, but then he returned it. I will miss you always, Rebecca, goodbye. Once again, since he had been turned into a toy, he wished he could feel his sense of touch. He wished he could cry, something that could help him hold on to this moment in time for just a bit longer. Rebecca rejoined her mother after a few more moments hugging Kairos. Music nodded at Kairos. I'll try to visit again in the future, see ya, Garp. She grabbed their shoulders and the three disappeared to the sound of a soft viola. The melody traveled through the air, high over the red line and traveling through the grand line. Heard only in the back of their hearing, any who looked up saw nothing in the sky as the melody passed over them. Passing the calm belt with ease into the east blue, they reached the Goa kingdom, and the melody ended as they landed in the woods. Rebecca stumbled and Scarlet caught her. Rebecca. It happens to plenty of people, it's just some dizziness, it'll clear soon, Music assured the worried mother. I will never understand anything Garp says. A voice rang out from the woods. The two members of the Riku family tensed up as a large man with a feather coat walked into the clearing, with a striking resemblance to Doflamingo. I mean seriously, Dad, what the hell does he mean by, listen for the viola? What is a viola? Scarlet pulled Rebecca behind her and looked at Music in suspicion. A viola is a refined instrument, Sengoku explained, stepping into the clearing. He froze as he saw Music, but only for a moment. Grab the both of them and run, it's a warlord. He yelled out, ripples of gold appearing around him. Music's eyes widened slightly and looked down, realizing he hadn't changed his appearance from Bridget. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Rosinante rushed forward and grabbed both Scarlet and Rebecca and got ready to run. Let me explain, Music started to say but quickly had to dodge out of the way as Sengoku tried to palm strike him. Look, I know what you're thinking, but fuck. Music flew back as Sengoku punched him in the gut and sent him flying back with a shockwave. Music laid on the ground for a moment, staring up at the sky. I'm a friend of Garp. He yelled out, stopping both men in their tracks. Rosinante looked between Sengoku and Music, ready to bolt with the two Riku women and get his kids to safety. Dad? Music got back to her feet with a groan. Look, this is just my old look that I'm using. I haven't gone by Bridget for a long time. She held her hands up and open, showing she wasn't armed. I work alongside the people who helped convince Garp to go on his current path. I'm undercover as a warlord, can we please be civil? Sengoku was still in a fighting stance, his powers still rippling around him. Before he could figure anything out, there was an explosion from the Goa kingdom. Oh shit. Rosinante yelled out, carefully putting Scarlet and Rebecca down and then running towards it. Luffy, I told you not to use firebombs. I didn't. A voice laughed out, punctuated by another large explosion. I didn't use the dynamite either. The three arrivals looked at the twin infernos in shock. Sengoku let out a sigh. He used the poison we stopped him from using yesterday, damn it all. His stance relaxed, but not fully. It's like dealing with a younger Garp but without his penchant to just default to punching. Music blinked. Sun became an anarchist? Wait, is that accurate or does he just inspire chaos? Look, if you want I'll submit to Seastone cuffs, I just need to make sure that dash. Grandpa Senni. Rebecca gasped as a pair of arms stretched out from the woods and Luffy rocketed at Sengoku with a laugh. The nobles all started pooping from the poison, it was so funny. Sengoku fell to the ground from Luffy's impact into him. At least you haven't killed any of them yet, he muttered into the ground. Where did you get the poison? Luffy tilted his head. Reiji-da, he stated it like it should have been obvious. It took Sengoku a moment to connect the nickname to the name. Right, I'll talk to Reiju later. There's a friend of Garp's over there, also new friend. Sengoku pointed towards the three, giving up in the face of Luffy being Luffy. Luffy zeroed in on Rebecca and swung onto the tree near her. Hi. I'm Monkey D. Luffy and I'm going to be king of the pirates. Do you want to go make nobles cry? Music chuckled. Voda-doo-doo-doo-doo. Well, we've got a little chaos here. As is obvious, this is Garp's only grandchild by blood. Sengoku spit out some of the dirt that had gotten into his mouth. He's insane, much like his grandfather, you'll get used to it. Grandfather, do you know if Judge faked his death? Law asked, walking in with Kikoku resting on his shoulder. He needs to pay for what he did. Yanji walked behind him with a blush. I told you it's fine. He liked us. It's nothing like what he did to Sanji or what we did. He trailed off, remembering what he had done to his little brother. Right, Luffy, we need to make a metal mask just in case. La side-hugged Yanji. I'm making a list of what we're going to do to him. Any suggestions? Luffy was actually thinking on it. No, he's very much dead. I found his body myself after Garp got to him, Sengoku quickly said before Luffy got any ideas. I'm still making the mask just in case, given that she was dead like 2 days ago, Law pointed at Scarlet. Also, this is Beepo. He fled from the North Blue with some others. He and Shachi and Penguin are going to be part of my crew. A polar bear mink peeked out from behind a tree. Hi. Music arched an eyebrow. One of the changes to events, interesting. Luffy smiled widely, jumped down from the tree and ran up to Beepo, dragging Rebecca right behind him. So fluffy. Luffy buried his face in Beepo's fur. Hello there, I'm Rebecca. She waved at the others, then touched Beepo's fur. So soft. Sengoku sighed. Hi there, Miss Scarlet. I'm Sengoku, that's Law Yanji. You've met Luffy, and my son who just ran off is Rosinante, and yes, he is related to Doflamingo. He's his little brother. You're Doflamingo's father? Scarlet kept one eye on Rebecca. Sengoku shivered. No, I adopted Rosie. It's a long story. Luffy, why don't you go introduce Rebecca to the others and send Rosie back here? Okay, you're gonna love them. Luffy dragged Rebecca towards Fusha village just as another explosion went off. That was me. Gas. Sengoku's eye twitched. Right, we never told him he couldn't cause a gas explosion. Anyway, what do you need? He asked Music. Well, it's clear there will be no issues, so I gotta get back to work as a warlord. Music smiled softly at Luffy's retreating form. Good to see him happy after what happened in the old timeline. This meeting never happened, see ya around. Music disappeared to the tune of a viola. Another explosion went off. Molotov cocktails, that's either Ace or Sabo, Sengoku muttered without even having to look. Miss Scarlet, let's go to the village so you can meet everyone else. Scarlet wrung her hands in worry for Rebecca. Yes, let's do that. Are the explosions dash? She was cut off by another explosion. That would be Ichiji. He was pretty pissed at those nobles for overhunting, Sengoku muttered as he guided Scarlet through the woods towards Fusha. They heard Rebecca's laughter before they saw her playing with the other kids. Back at the Granting Wish, Kairos had stayed staring at the spot Scarlet and Rebecca had disappeared from. My loves, I will free our home. A transponder snail appeared next to him in a drumbeat with a note telling him to let the Tontatas reach out to him first. I don't know how long this will take, but our people will be freed. Garp sat in his room, reading over a note that Music had left behind. Let the tides guide you to darkness, Garp chuckled. All right, time to get the dark fruit. He got up and walked out into the ship to the mess hall. He gave Belmere the note and walked towards the kitchen to eat. Belmere's eye twitched. The fuck does this mean? These aren't directions. She waved the note in the air at his back. Fisher Tiger rolled his eyes. What did I agree to? He rubbed his eyes. He's insane. You get used to it, Alvia assured him. Just give it time. Guion chuckled after reading the note. So what, we just drift through the sea? Her face fell at Garp's smile. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Belmere sighed. Fine. We'll just drift. I'll go raise the anchor. She stalked off, grumbling about directionless gods. So, why is Music undercover as a warlord? Lami asked. I mean, what are they telling you exactly that helps our job? They're not undercover for me, Garp shrugged. It's for the other gods. They all have their own plans. Our job is different. We just overlap at times, and I was close friends with them during my first life, so that's part of the reason why they stopped by. What exactly are they trying to do? Fisher Tiger asked, trying to still understand that gods existed. Stopping the end of the world, Garp said without a second thought as he prepped some ingredients for a stew. The what? The crew yelled at him, Belmere doing so over the speaker system. The world ended in the last timeline? Tom panicked. The fuck do you mean last timeline? Fisher Tiger snapped. Why didn't you tell us? Kazan yelled at Garp. Only just recently found out, and it doesn't really relate too much to our objectives beyond Sakazuki's death. Garp shrugged his shoulders as he turned on the stove. You mean I could have prevented Dash? Garp suddenly appeared in front of Kazan and flicked his forehead. None of that, you didn't know, and we'll have plenty more opportunities to get him. It involves that man Music mentioned, Caesar Clown, correct? Kairos asked. Yup, but that doesn't involve us right now. Could easily change though, but right now that's Music's objective. Garp started cutting up some bread to toast. Fisher Tiger sighed. Could you catch me up? I'm completely lost and I don't know how Kairos is keeping up, he asked Alvia. I stopped questioning things after I got turned into a toy, then I met a god and I stopped caring for logic, Kairos explained as he hopped up and sat on the table near Fisher Tiger, looking at Alvia for answers as well. just to keep track of his captain's insanity. Well, from what I understand, I guess we'll start with Germa's destruction, Olvia pondered. Wait, Germa's real? Fisher Tiger gasped. Dressrosa. Monet stood in the castle's plaza, awaiting an arrival. In a blast of a guitar, Bridget appeared, and she stretched her arms. Well, I'm awake, damn do I want a drink. Who are you? Monet, please come with me. The young master is waiting for you. Monet turned around and walked into the castle. Aha, Bridget hummed, grabbing a bottle as they walked past it and examined it. Butterscotch schnapps, if only I had some vodka and a cream soda, that'd be a good drink to have. You got any rum? I'll see if we have any of that, light or dark? Monet asked while keeping an eye on Bridget's movements. They didn't know why he had appeared and helped them, or what he wanted to talk about with Doflamingo. Dark, maybe some coffee as well, Bridget shrugged. Although I have a good recipe for a coffee rum mix, just need a few spices and a flame. Ah, another time that'll be a nice party. Monet nodded, not understanding her one bit. I see. Well, here we are. Young master, my Baron Bridget is here, Monet announced, correcting herself as Bridget changed genders. Well, Baron Bridget, what do you want to talk about? Doflamingo looked Bridget as Monet left to get rum. Bridget flopped into a chair and kicked his feet up on the table. Simple, you owe me a few favors and I'm here to tell you. Excuse me? I saved your buddy Diamante over there and got the Constellation crew out of your kingdom. You owe me a few, I'm cashing it now rather than later, Bridget shrugged. Diamante gritted his teeth at the reminder of his, can't even call it a fight, he got absolutely trounced by Garp. And I got your buddy with the voice over there out of those symbols. That reminds me, he seemed to know you. Doflamingo tried to keep his anger under control at Bridget's words. I attend a lot of parties, make a lot of parties, turn things into a party. It's entirely possible I've run into him at a party or two, Bridget shrugged. Given what Diamante said, her words track, and I've heard she can change her appearance. Fine then, now what is this favor you want? He tapped his fingers against his knee, wanting to get to work on fixing all the damages Garp had caused. Gladius was still recovering from his injury, and he needed to ease the people's fears. Favors plural. Given what I did for you, I'd say you owe me 6 favors. She suddenly disappeared and reappeared with Gladius in her grip and with a calming melody healed his injury, leaving behind only a scar. And given I just healed him and made sure he keeps his eye, that makes 7. If you want a lot of money, you can just ask for it, enough with the theatrics. Doflamingo's eyebrow twitched. He hated having to owe someone, and if Bridget wasn't a warlord he would have killed them already. When did I say I wanted money? Bridget dropped Gladius and leaned back. Monet walked in and presented a bottle of dark rum to her. Bridget popped the cap off and took a long drink. Money has no real value to me, what I want is actions, something far more valuable. If I actually wanted money, I'd go rob someone I hate, and I have plenty of those. Doflamingo resisted the urge to sigh. Fine then, what do you want? Mostly some things to help Vegapunk. First of all, we need you to distribute some devil fruits to pirates and collect data of these pirates in their fights and such. Bridget took a quick drink. Any profits you make off of the sale of the fruits you keep, we just want the data. Doflamingo perked up at those words. He had heard that Vegapunk had moved beyond artificial devil fruits to making entirely new devil fruits. These fruits, we have been denied the right to officially use them for tests, but the data we could get from them, but since they're not on any official papers, if they end up in the hands of pirates, no one will question it. Just keep our name out of these deals and get us the data and everything is good. He felt his anger recede at such access to goods like new devil fruits. The potential profits alongside the smile fruits he sold to Kaido alone could increase his wealth. Doflamingo smiled. Very well, I'll agree to that. Is it safe to assume you'll handle getting these devil fruits to us? Yeah, just set up rendezvous points for me to drop them off at and for you to pick up. Bridget nodded. Next up, you have quite a few gladiators missing limbs alongside other extensive injuries. I'll take them off your hands. Vegapunk has plans to create devil fruits similar to the missing Op fruit. He really hates that he missed the chance to analyze it thanks to what happened at Minion Island. Anyways, he's planning out a Zoan-type devil fruit with similar healing properties to the Op fruit, and we need subjects with injuries similar to your gladiators. We'll take 30 now to consider the favor fulfilled, and if we decide we need more, we'll compensate you for more. The fairness behind the favor had Doflamingo feeling confident, especially with the information revealed. Diamante? I'll get the 30 most injured ready for transport. Diamante nodded. Next favor, actually the next 2 favors are similar, so I guess it'd be easier to just say them both. Vegapunk wants to analyze the powers of 2 of your subordinates, Senor Pink and Baby 5, for his plans for some future devil fruits. They'll stay at his lab for only a month, Any longer and compensation will be given. Bridget leaned forward with a smirk. Although knowing Vegapunk it will be longer than a month, so I'll put in some extra devil fruits in the first few deliveries as compensation. Will you ensure their safety? Doflamingo asked. As best as we can, Bridget gave a thumbs up. Next favor is for Punk Hazard. There's some stuff there Vegapunk wants back for some of his future experiments. I just need your permission to get it from the labs given that your subordinate uses it as his labs, hence making it part of your territory as a warlord. Fine, but you will be supervised by Monet while you're there. Fair, Bridget shrugged. Next up, Vegapunk wants some extra funding for some of his projects. However, you get to pick what you fund, thus ensuring the research done will benefit you. And the last one, a night with her would be fun. Bridget pointed at Monet. Monet jerked in surprise and blushed. I mean, she is really hot, and her melody is nice to listen to. Now that'd just be creepy for me to use a favor like that. Why are you trying to rid yourself of my debt to you? Doflamingo asked, his curiosity piqued. I've got some friends I owe a lot to, and I just reunited with one who I thought was dead for a long time who I owe a bunch of favors to, and they all owe plenty to me. It's already a pain to keep track of all of that, especially since they refuse to call on them most of the time, so it just keeps adding up. Bridget let out a beleaguered sigh. Plus you don't strike me as the kind of person who likes being in debt to anyone. Well, there is one thing I guess. Vegapunk has really been pissed at Caesar Clown for what he did to Punk Hazard. Let me kick him in the dick and I'll consider the debt cleared. Doflamingo chuckled. Very well, we'll get right to work on the requests. This seems like the start to a wonderful business partnership. In terms of compensation, either devil fruits or with your preferences, favors. Sound fair? Yeah, so if you need me to help with any of your business shit you'll owe me favors and vice versa for me. Do we shake on it or is this a blood pact? Bridget asked, fiddling with the hilt of her knife. We're pirates, blood spilled means far more. Doflamingo held his hand out and Diamante cut it with his sword. Bridget cut her hand open and they shook, signing the pact. Or at the very least, Doflamingo believed it was. With a silent whistle Bridget kept their blood from mixing and swirled it around, giving the impression of mixing. They both leaned back and Bridget waved her hand, healing the wounds but leaving scars. The pact is sealed. Monet will escort you to Punk Hazard and ensure Caesar doesn't fight back. Once you're back we'll have the others ready to go and your first rendezvous point. Bridget downed the rest of the rum and stood up. All right, pretty bird, let's go to Punk Hazard. Pretty bird? Monet blushed harder, causing Bridget to chuckle. Right, follow me and we'll get on a boat. It will be a relatively short trip. Bridget smirked, but then she heard a horn sound. Not a good time, Sky. Damn it, I'll send Cleodna to it for now. She's been asleep long enough and she needs to get off her ass. And if she doesn't show up like my previous attempts I can just blame it on whatever's going on. So, how long you been a pirate, pretty bird? The heavens. Sky paced around the viewing space as the other gods filtered in. What do you want, Sky? We're trying to do what you want and it's not exactly easy if we get interrupted constantly. Shaker snapped at him, glaring daggers at death. A sickly green-haired woman walked in with a yawn. Cleodna, what are you doing here? Great Serpent asked. You've been asleep since sun and the others entered into the cycle. Why do you wake? Music said that I can't keep lazing about, yelled at me with an annoyingly auto-tuned voice to get off my ass. The queen of the banshees muttered. I need something. Why are you looking at me like that? Cleodna raised an eyebrow at Shaker. Really, you couldn't get up sooner like I don't know when Emu betrayed us? She yelled at her. I thought you were cursed like Jormungandr. Why the fuck would you wake up now instead of other times when you were needed? And why the fuck did music only now wake you up despite their past attempts? What's the big deal? It was only... Why is the world flooded? Damn, you guys really screwed things up in such a short time? Cleodna yelped and dodged out of the way as Shaker lashed out at her. You've been asleep for 5,000 generations, you bitch. Shaker launched herself at Cleodna and was held back by Roger and Rouge. You wake up and insult us? I'll rip you to pieces, you fucking sloth of a banshee. What? No, that's not right. Moon said it would only take about 100 generations. Cleodna looked at the others. Wait, who are those four? Merlin, Djawalix and Futsanushi's current reincarnations. They ascended back to us. Oh, and yeah, they're alive apparently, Death said, dodging out of the way of a rock thrown at her by Shaker. Yeah. But they were dealing with their own shit and they have an excuse for most of the years they weren't here. This bitch has no excuse. We've needed help, advice, influence, but we've been on our own because Sun and a bunch of the others fucked off into the reincarnation cycle. Shaper and I got cursed into one body because we're so few. And then you go and try and fuck over one of the few good choices we made since we lost so many. Death gritted her teeth. I'm trying to avoid the mistakes we made with Emu. At what point did Garp ever act like that traitorous fuck? He's been a far better champion of a wish, a far better hero, a far better person. And you go and try and break his trust in us. Shaker pointed an accusatory finger at her, and you still can't admit that you were wrong. You make excuse after excuse, never taking responsibility, just like what happened with Musin and what almost happened with Eren Yeager because you cursed the attack titan with visions of the future, you fucking Greek idiot. Death bristled. Oh, you're one to talk, you fucking Roman copycat. Like you're not at fault for the land becoming limited to a bunch of islands after you went and almost let Sauron take control with that stupid one ring. Oh, you want to go? Should I mention Griffith? Or how about all that shit that got started with Kars and the stone masks, and then when you made the fucking stance? We actually try and take our time with our attempts to fix the world, but you just jump from one thing to the next without thinking it through, just like Zeus with women. Shaker growled, and then her words caught up to her thoughts. Death pursed her lips. Sky, why are we here? Oh, are you all done arguing? Sky asked, although his anger was undermined by the fact he was currently strangling Cleodna. Look, something's happened to Nami Dash. The fuck happened to the navigator? A voice called out as a teenager ran into the meeting. Oh, Charybdis, Ocean sent you to meet with us instead of coming herself, it seems. How are you doing? How's Tiamat? Great Serpent nuzzled her head against Charybdis. Charybdis groaned. She's fine. Ocean kicked us both out of watching over the dark fruit since Music directed Garp towards her. Tiamat will be here soon, she's just checking on some stuff. Now what happened to Nami? She looked at Sky. What happened to my descendant? Arlong didn't take Fisher Tiger being part of a human crew well, he lashed out. Her foot was completely crushed and most of her left arm was torn off, Sky revealed. It happened yesterday. I missed it initially as I was focusing on those four and some other things. When I went back and looked over the records, I noticed it and went to check on her to confirm. It's bad. Shapert sked. If she falls behind in making maps for Arlong or getting money collected, things could go wrong and she could get killed. Either by Arlong because of his rage or by her own hand if the villagers decide it's better to stop being so docile and fight back and they fail. But we can't interfere too much or we run too many risks. Charybdis growled, her skin turned scaly, and her lower jaw split in two as her more monstrous side took over. Fuck our laws. I stood by when she was able to better protect herself, but not now. I'll destroy that saw-nosed shark. Stop. A watery voice yelled out. An orb of water hovered up from the viewing pool. Ocean. Why should Dash? Charybdis cut off when a watery hand reached out from the orb and hand chopped her. Prioritize Nami first. There are two means we can go about this. The first is to follow strictly within our laws to aid her. The other is to manipulate events and bring someone near her that could be able to give her prosthetics. Frankie is our best bet, and his current position is perfect. Use Axehand Morgan, get Frankie to come to a town to take apart pirate ships for parts to repair it after an attack. Put Nami in that town. She will only accept help so far right now, especially with her fear. She will get prosthetics that are of a superior quality to any other, and put her right back on the right track to join Luffy's crew. Charybdis nodded. It'll be easy to get Axehand Moron to create the ideal situation we need. Tiamat can handle that. I'll ensure Frankie goes there. Earth Twins, can you get Nami to the island once we choose one? Shaker currently is on a different objective. I'll do what I can and I'm certain Rouge could help with some of her tricks. Shaper looked at Rouge. I don't know why this Nami is so important. We're still being caught up on everything, but I can do what I can. Rouge smiled. Sky sighed. Wonderful. Now Death, Shaker, you'll be working together to orchestrate discovery of Wapple metal. Shaker jerked. The fuck I am. I'm not working with her. Death yelled at the same time. Dressrosa. Music struggled to hide her flinch as she observed the meeting through one of her eyes. It was a pain to place its sight where she wanted, and if she opened her eyelid, she'd have to go through the process all over again. Is your eye okay? Monet asked. It's fine, pretty bird. Music smiled. Potential side effect of that attack of mine is that my eye can get really irritated. The least painful side effect but still annoying, and at least it's not both of them. That attack seems to cause you plenty of problems, Monet observed. Music smirked. Part of the issue with that attack is that the more people I send away with it, the more problems I deal with. Normally I just chain it together against several people, sending one away at a time, but given how everything was going, had to get them all away. I see. Why did you aid us? Better to have allies no matter how strenuous the alliance is, Music shrugged. A wise philosophy, Bridget, Monet nodded. Call me Music, my friends call me that, or people I want to get to know more intimately, Music purred at Monet, causing her to blush again. Well, yes, Music is a nice name. Oh, we've arrived at Punk Hazard. Monet pointed out. Music smirked as he walked behind Monet. You've got a party melody within you, let's see if we can properly wake it up. The ramp came down and there was Caesar Clown. Before he could say anything, Music rushed forward and kicked him square in the dick. Oh, that feels good. Nako let out a heavy sigh. It's not much, but it'll help you walk. He gestured to the wooden prosthetic he had made for Nami's foot. Not much I can do for your arm. Make sure to use the relaxer here for the stump, clean it as necessary. Make sure to massage them when they begin to feel sore, and for the next couple of months make sure to stay off your feet as much as you can. Nami nodded along absent-mindedly. Are you listening or should I just kick you out? Nami swung her legs over the edge of the bed and after struggling to find her balance stood up. Taking shaking steps, she left the clinic out into her village. Walking along the path she ignored the looks everyone gave her, her eyes only on Arlong Park. The incline proved a challenge, the prosthetic not able to bend as she needed it to. After finally getting to the gates, she tried to push it open with her left arm out of habit, only then remembering that it was no longer there. Correcting herself to push it open with her right arm, she silently drifted past the fishmen milling about. Oh, Nami! Hatchan yelled out, waving at her. How are you doing? I'm okay, just going to go make Arlong his maps, then I'll be heading out for my next couple of hits. Any special requests? Nami spoke softly, her eyes dull of life. No, Arlong's been locked in his room since you got injured. Do you need help getting up the stairs? That doctor talked about you having trouble with balance? Hatchan smiled kindly at her. I'd appreciate it just for today. I won't trouble you for it afterwards. Nami's voice held no emotion, she was practically a zombie. Hatchan carefully picked her up in his arms and carried her up the stairs to her room here, her personal hell. He carefully put her in her chair at her desk. Thanks, Hatchan. No problem, call me if you need me. Hatchan smiled brightly as he left, closing the door behind him and leaving Nami alone in this cramped and horrible room. Setting the items on the desk as she liked, Nami got ready to begin making the maps, reaching to grab things and once more was reminded of her missing arm. Letting out a heavy sigh, she rearranged the desk, so everything was in reach for her. She tapped her fingers, looking at her desk in anger. She wanted to sweep it all off, destroy all the maps she had made for Arlong. He had taken her mother from her, her freedom chained, her village's love burned to the ground, and now her arm and her leg. All that was left was her life, and she had come close to losing it. Even still, she picked the pen up and inked it and put it to the paper, creating more of her art for the monster she was forced to serve. Just a couple more years, just a bit longer. I can do this, I can do this, I can't do this. Nami's hand shook, splotched of ink shaking out onto the paper. Nami forced her hand to stay still and put the pen down, throwing the paper away and putting a new one down. Taking a shaky breath, she emptied her head of any thoughts but the islands she had to map and got to work. Elsewhere in the East Blue, a massive axe struck down a pirate, joining the rest of the blood spilled on the ground. Axehand Morgan glared out over the battlefield, the Marine captain's namesake near crimson with blood. Kill them all, take no prisoners. He yelled out at the men that served under him as he ran at his enemies, cutting more of them to pieces, as well as cutting some of his own men as well. A fleet of pirates that flying the Jolly Roger of the Barrel Pirates had invaded the East Blue, but they weren't getting far. Admiral Smoker was handling the main force, Commodore Tashigi another, Captain Morgan was stuck with the leftovers. He kicked one of his opponents away and snapped another's neck as he fought his way to the leaders of this part of the fleet. Besting these fools will show everyone my greatness. I will be promoted to admiral, stories will be told of my greatness. He cut down one of the leaders as more of his men were cut down. Chopping another's head off, he didn't realize the Marines were quickly becoming outnumbered. Cutting the final one in half, he turned around ready to declare victory, only for his vision to be filled only with smoke. In short order, the pirates that had outnumbered the Marines were choked by the smoke and felled. It all coalesced into Smoker, who quickly looked around for any other pirates he could have missed. Sir! Tashigi yelled out as a Marine ship docked and she jumped over the side to run up to him. Triage is already being prepared. Any other orders? Keep an eye out for any other barrel pirates. We have a chance to finally snuff them out and we need to take it. He looked at a nearby Marine. Are there any prisoners to question? Bah! Morgan scoffed. There's no need, their leaders are dead thanks to my mighty axe. They were pathetically easy to best. That is not what I saw, Captain. Your men were outnumbered with plenty of pirates between you and them. You abandoned your men, let them be killed, and because you didn't even try to take any prisoners we can't question them. Their fleet had split into three, We need to know why, but we weren't able to learn from the two other divisions and we only had one more chance with this one and we may have just lost it. Smoker scolded him. Tashigi, how many ships are left? A lot, sir, Tashigi informed him. We don't have the space to keep it all. What could have possibly led the Barrel Pirates to attack the East Blue? Small groups of them have attacked ships here, but this was an invasion. She looked at all of the fallen pirates and marines, cleanup already starting. Just sink them all and be done with it, Morgan said flippantly. Smoker shot him a glare. Reach out to Water 7, see if they'll send some of their people here to dismantle the ships. We don't have the manpower to send the ships to them. Tell them that we'll deal with the price once they give it to us. Tashigi nodded. Right, sir. What should we do about the loss of marine presence in this area? We'll need to stretch ourselves thin for a time until we get more people, go set up patrols and get the injured to any hospitals that can take them. Get me a full report on damages to the kingdoms, cities and villages, then figure out what supplies will be needed for our outposts, Smoker ordered as he walked away to go inspect the area for any surviving pirates. I will go handle the fools who did not risk themselves to stop these pirates, Morgan says. Don't, Smoker snapped at him. Go handle your reports and paperwork and handle patrols. Tashigi will be handling caring for our injured. Later that day, Water 7. Icebug walked quickly through the streets of his city, Califa right behind him. It took me a while, but I was able to negotiate an escort for them. I'm charting out how long they will be gone. Given the slight lull we've seen in work right now, we can dedicate one of the yards to handling dismantling ships as needed until our dismantlers return, Califa reported. Given the speed at which they've been handling dismantling, it shouldn't be long, Icebug theorized, hiding his smirk at Frankie's skill. The yards being freed from having to handle all of the ship dismantling made the investment into a new dismantling yard worth it. But then Frankie had started recruiting from the street urchins, the local troublemakers, the people that didn't find their own jobs for whatever reason and turned to a troublesome life. Frankie took them in, taught them and gave them a new purpose, and they put their everything into it, even taking in 2 giant king bulls who handled moving ships into the yard. The speed at which the dismantling crew expanded allowed for the dismantling yard to expand to be able to handle ships of various sizes. It had practically become its own district, some of the dismantlers going into their own little businesses, mostly food and in Icebug's opinion some damn good food. And of course the blueprints that Frankie supplied them of all the ships they took apart, even teaching some of his people how to make them so they could do it as well, giving the shipwrights a lot of material to pull from for repairs and building new ships. Water 7 was soaring to even greater heights thanks to Frankie's efforts with the dismantling yard. And now, all of that effort was going to be put to the test. Walking through the entryway, Icebug and Califa entered into a vibrant community, colors abound and music blaring. It was like a massive party as they all worked. Some of the buildings were made out of parts of ships, creating a menagerie of figureheads dotting the rooftops. It was a community of punks and outcasts, smiles bright and finally welcomed into a community. Oi, Icebug! Frankie yelled from an outpost overlooking the dismantling of a massive ship, 6 rows of cannons on each side, each row holding 10. Frankie waved at them with a bright smile. What's up? Kinda in the middle of something. Frankie, the Navy just hired you and your team for dismantling a massive pirate fleet. Frankie raised an eyebrow. Okay? When should we expect them to arrive? Icebug shook his head. They don't have the manpower to do that. You and your team have to go there to dismantle the fleet. I can get you some extra time to wrap up the current projects, but Frankie, this would be massive for your yard's reputation. I'll give you the details, but I want you there to represent us for your yard's first job outside of Water 7. Frankie gaped at the news. For a yard to be hired for work outside of the island was a big chance for the yard to be able to secure trust that ensured more work. For the dismantling yard to be asked was a surprise, but it would make the news and if done right could mean that other kingdoms would hire them to deal with pirate ships to be dismantled. Give us a day and we'll get moving, thanks Califa. Frankie took the offered file from her and began to flip through it. Thanks Frankie, we'll handle taking care of your bulls while you're gone. Icebug smiled at him as Califa observed the two closely. Fusha Village. Sengoku sent another pirate flying into the territory of the king of the coast. The pirates surrounding him stepped back slightly, only to then for several of them to be shot down. Tsuru, so it's official? Sengoku called out to her casually despite the enemies around him. A pirate came running out of the jungle, only for Luffy's arms to stretch out and drag the pirate back into the woods screaming. At least he's working out his feelings from seeing Garp almost die. Sengoku's sweat dropped at the sight. Yup. Tsuru popped the pea as she shot down 2 more barrel pirates. Yanji slammed a shaker against a pirate's head, knocking them out. So, what's with the children? Niji hit a pirate with a rolling pin while Cosette used a cast iron skillet. I'll give you 3 guesses, Sengoku said with a flat look as Ichiji stabbed a pirate with a carving knife. Pirates screamed in the jungle as Luffy, Sabo, Ace, and Bonnie's laughter rang out through the air. Room, Law said, and then unsheathed Kikoku and slashed them into pieces and then rearranged the pieces into a bizarre piece of art. A pirate tries to sneak up on Cosette, but Rosinante slammed them into the ground and shot them in the head. Aunt Tsuru? He blinked in surprise at Tsuru. Hi Rosie, so these are Garp's grandkids. Tsuru smirked as the last pirate's screams quieted. Any clue why the barrel pirates attacked here now despite their main force getting decimated earlier today? They were here for me, Sengoku answered as he threw the pirates to the king of the coast. They blame me for their captain getting killed and ruining their crew with all the leaders they ended up having. At least that's the impression I got before their ranks quickly fell apart. Is that necessary? Scarlet asked as she came out of Makino's bar. They're already dead, and I'm guessing he doesn't want to risk them revealing you all being here. Tsuru nodded at her as she shot 2 pirates trying to get up. Rosinante hugged his kids close as they came out of the jungle. Good, you're all okay. Bonnie, how are you? Let me look. All 4 were fine, giant smiles on their faces. Rosinante sighed. You guys watched out for each other, that's all I can ask. Tsuru's eyebrow raised in surprise. Damn, he really has become a father. Sengoku chuckled. Yeah, come on, drinks are on me. He walked into Makino's bar as Dayton and her bandits came out of the woods, dragging behind them a bunch of brutalized pirates. Next day, New World, the granting wish. Alvia sat down in the orchard as Belmere picked some of the fruits. Any idea where we are? She asked as she peeled an orange. Belmere shrugged. Somehow we haven't come across any islands on the map, so no clue. We've got plenty of downtime, so I'm just giving the orchard a proper checkup, making sure everything's growing properly and giving any maintenance for the trees as needed. Alvia bit into a slice of orange. Well, the fruit is delicious. Do you think Garp is hiding something from us, since he awakened to his memories of his old lives? It feels like he wants to tell us. He'll tell us when he's ready, unless of course it involves someone else's safety, then he keeps a tight lid on it. Belmere chuckled. I'm telling you, unless someone's life is in danger, he cannot keep a secret. It's actually pretty funny. Really? Belmere smirked. I got a few stories from my training days, let me think which one to start with. She chuckled at the memories. What about the one where Sengoku ate his paperwork instead of his rice crackers and fed his rice crackers to Ing? Garp suggested. You actually saw that one. He picked an orange and took a bite out of it, skin and all. You know you're supposed to peel those, right? Belmere's sweat dropped. Hey Garp, you got any stories from your past lives? Alvia asked as she started peeling another orange. I'll tell you a few some other time. Belmere's got some good stories. Garp sat down next to her, tossing a lime into his mouth and chewing on it. East Blue, Kokoyashi Village. Nami's fingers bled as she put the quill down, the final map finished for this batch. She sat there slouched, her blood dripping down to the floor. Letting out a sigh, she got down from the chair and limped towards the door. Opening it, she hobbled towards the stairs, staring down the many stairs to the floor below, and then the next flight to the ground floor that she knew was beneath the one she gazed upon. Without any handrails, she tried to grab onto the wall as she carefully moved down the first step. Managing to get down 2 more, her bad foot slipped out from beneath her and with a yell she fell down the stairs. Before she hit the floor, she was caught in a bunch of arms. Chu, are you okay, Nami? Hatchan asked, holding her carefully. Oh no, your hand's bleeding. It's fine, Hatchan, just need to wrap it and then I'll head out to get more of Arlong's money, Nami muttered. Hatchan gently sat her down and ran to grab some bandages. I'll help with that, I'll be right back. Nami sighed and sat down on the ground, waiting. What are you doing here, Nami? Arlong appeared, causing her to jump. Hatchan's helping me wrap my hand. She looked down, trying to not look at him. All your new maps are ready. I'll be leaving soon to get you your money. Good, don't grow lazy just because of your limbs, Arlong scoffed as he walked away. Let's drink later, Arlong. Hatchan waved after the Sano shark fishman as he walked back into the room. Got the bandages, Nami. Let's get that hand wrapped up, Chu. He smiled at Nami as he kneeled down and quickly wrapped the bandages around Nami's hand. Thanks, Hatchan. Nami got up and walked out of Arlong Park. She stumbled slightly on the rough path at the beginning and came into Kokoyashi Village slowly, stepping on the ground as though she were trying to walk through a minefield. She didn't have anything she needed to pick up from home, and she didn't want to visit Belmere's grave and let her mom see her current state. She ignored the gasps of the villagers, the words they said, letting them become static to her ears so she didn't have to hear their hatred for her. Nami? But one voice broke through, and Nami had been hoping to avoid her. Looking behind, she saw the familiar blue hair of her adopted sister Nojiko, her eyes wide with horror. What happened? Your arm, your leg, by the four winds, what happened? She dropped her groceries and rushed to her sister's side. It's gonna go to waste, you'll need to pay for more, Nami muttered, looking at the dropped food. Genzo, his pinwheel hat spinning, walked over and picked the groceries up. Nothing that can't be cleaned. He had already talked with Neko, so he knew about what had happened as well as Nami's attitude to it all. Just let that traitor go, Nojiko. Mr. Genzo. Look at her, she's missing an arm. Nojiko yelled at him. Come on, Nami, let's get you home so you can rest. She tried to guide her sister to their orchard, but Nami shoved Nojiko away. I'm fine, Nojiko, I need to go. I'll be back in a few months. Nami turned back to the docks and walked to the ship. Trying to step on, the rocking of the small ship caused her to collapse into it. Letting out a sigh, she got back to her feet, holding onto the mast to keep her balance. Untying it from the dock, she released the sail and drifted out, ignoring Nojiko yelling at her to come back. Time stopped and Charybdis stood on the ship in front of Nami. My dear descendant. This should not have happened to you. She cupped Nami's cheek and put their foreheads together. You will have justice, I will ensure your path will lead you to it. Please survive just a week longer and your drive will be renewed. Charybdis jumped into the sea and time resumed. Nami blinked, touching her cheek as she looked around. Belmir? She called out, believing it was the spirit of her dead mother. She bit her lower lip and adjusted the rudder and caught the wind in the sails. Nojiko's screams for her to come back fading into the distance. Logetown. Smoker gripped his desk tightly. They want to give Axe Hand an award for abandoning his men? He spoke lowly, barely containing his rage. Tashigi looked just as upset. They said because he took down several minor leaders of the Barrel Pirates that his failures will be overlooked. 3/4 of his men are either in the hospital or dead. There is only so far failures can be ignored, and it went past that for him when even 1/8 of his men went down. Smoker slammed his fist into the desk. Tashigi grabbed one of his cigars, stuck it in her mouth, lit it up and took a long drag. She coughed a bit. They don't see it like that, sir. Also, we got word from Marines at the Goa Kingdom. Some of the factions within the Barrel Pirates came here to go after Sengoku as revenge for the death of their captain at Minion Island. The others came here because they believed they would create a pirate empire here, taking the East Blue as their territory like Boa Hancock did with the South Blue. From those we've been able to question from the Goa Kingdom that aren't dead, it seems to have all been started when new recruits started saying things about Sengoku and Hancock, but those recruits don't seem to be among the dead based on description, or any of the prisoners based off the reports from Marines. Smoker took the cigar out of her mouth and put it out. These things are stronger than you think. If you intend to start smoking, don't start with these. As for these missing recruits, it sounds like someone infiltrated the Barrel Pirates to set them off like this. We could be dealing with someone trying to muscle in on their businesses. Tashigi adjusted her glasses. That's what I was thinking. I've sent word to the Cypher Pauls about this possibility. No word back on that theory yet, but some got back and said they would look into it. Smoker huffed. They actually said something that's a rarity. What's the word from Water 7? Their head dismantler will be setting out with his crews tonight. They'll be here in a week, Tashigi reported. They would have been here sooner, but they had to wrap up their current work before they could leave. Understandable, and that gives us time to ensure there aren't any Barrel Pirates lurking about. Smoker breathed out some smoke. Did they get to Sengoku? They did, but most of them lost their lives. Tsuru actually joined up with Sengoku and helped him near the end. She's the only reason we got any prisoners from that attack, Tashigi explained. They're officially retired, but do you think we could get their help with handling the situation? We would be lucky, but with everything that's happened and been revealed, it wouldn't surprise me if they refused, Smoker sighed. He himself was beginning to feel even greater doubts in the Marines with what he had learned during Kong's battle with Garp. He remembered how Garp would stare out at the sea at times, remembering his wife. The fact that the Marines were secretly killing people, good people who were trying to help others but upset the celestial dragons, and so Kong had them killed. The doubts had come when Garp had left, and they had only grown since then. Just see what we can do with the people we have now. Don't expect anyone else to be able to help us. Tashigi nodded. I'll try to do what I can, but moral isn't good after everything that's happened. Marine HQ. Kizaru flexed his shoulders as he stepped out of the infirmary, the bandages under his clothes shifting slightly. Definitely got lucky. Didn't know Lunarians could do things like that, he muttered to himself as he walked through the halls. He had just been cleared to leave the infirmary, even if he wasn't fully healed to what used to be the standard before the crisis began. He'd be sent out on missions soon enough. For now he was restricted to desk work for at least a week. Walking into his office, he blinked in surprise for a moment at seeing Akainu there, plenty of bandages wrapped around him. Well, this is a surprise. Didn't think you would be cleared for desk duty so soon, Sakazuki. I will not give the pirates or those traitors the chance to gain headway in destroying all that the Marines have built. And I won't let Kong's legacy fall to ruin because of Garp. Akainu steamed. They may have yet to attack again, but they will, and we will be ready to strike. Please don't start a fire in here, Kizaru requested as he sat on his desk. I don't want to see if you can sink an island with your magma. You've sunk enough ships. Shut up, you lazy idiot. Akainu shouted at him. Kizaru rolled his eyes. Anyways, they won't let you leave until they've given you a proper checkup. The more you fight against, the longer you'll be stuck here. He grabbed his hidden bottle of coffee liqueur and poured himself a shot. Downing it, he let out a sigh. Knowing how things will go, they won't have you kept here long, just long enough to ensure your wounds don't become problems in the future. I'll probably be shipped in the next day or two. I know that, and I need you to visit Vegapunk. I want to know why Bridget showed up at Dressrosa, and you're going to get me that information, Akainu demanded. Fine. It'll be good to see him anyways after he moved to Egghead Island, Kizaru shrugged. Any word on who'll be filling the fleet admiral position? That'll be Akainu, a voice spoke up from the doorway. Both turned to look and saw a well-dressed man with hair and a beard that resembled a crescent moon. I'm St. Figureland Garling, here to help the elders with getting things back on track after the disaster at Dressrosa. I'm to be the new fleet admiral? Akainu asked in mild surprise. That's correct. The elders have deemed it necessary to allow for members of the Heavenly Knights to aid in ending the crisis. They have only one request: do not prioritize Monkey D. Garp for now. Shore up our defenses. Figureland held the hilt of his sword lightly, and ensure no kingdoms leave the world government. Once we are deemed to be within a safer state, then you may hunt down Monkey D. Garp and kill him. Understood. I'll need time to train and become stronger to make up for the loss of my arm. Akainu stood up. I assume you will be in charge of the Heavenly Knights. I have only one requirement for you. Figureland glared at him from behind his shades. Anything regarding Garp that your knights discover, you tell me immediately. I'll be the one to kill him. Given what has happened because of Garp, I'll allow this request. But do not make a habit of it. We are saints, gods of this world, and trained as the greatest of warriors. We do not normally answer to peasants such as you. Figureland scoffed and walked away. Watch yourself closely, Akainu. The elders will be doing the same. 3 days later, Goa Kingdom. Smoker took a puff of his cigars as his ship docked. Load the prisoners up and guard them closely, he ordered the Marines as he stepped off. He had only been here after Garp had made his very public resignation to see if he could recover any remains of St. Jalmac, but there was nothing left to pick up, obviously, given the king of the coast. Looking around, the kingdom wasn't doing well. It had clearly suffered from several attacks, and given the reports he had read on the way, it was a supporter of Garp's that was responsible. Admiral. The Marine captain in charge ran up to him and saluted. I'm sorry I was not here to greet you, sir. There was a situation with the memorial for St. Jalmac. A memorial? Haven't heard anything about that. They must be trying to curry favor again, Smoker thought to himself. At ease, Captain. What was the situation? An explosion, sir. It was completely destroyed. The captain relaxed. Most likely dynamite. It's nothing new these days. Someone used dynamite to attack you, and that is nothing new? Smoker raised an eyebrow as he walked further into the kingdom. Looking further, he could see the smoke of the explosion. I haven't read all of the reports. Exactly how commonplace is this? It's been going on for several years, sir. This isn't one of the bigger attacks, the captain explained. Smoker hummed as a teen in a top hat ran past, carrying a pipe. Luffy, come on, we gotta get back home. He yelled out to the rooftops, and there was an explosion of laughter. Smoker saw a straw hat swinging about as a child ran across the top of the buildings. Go back to the gray line, you brats. The captain yelled at them. What? So you can just burn it down again? The kid with the top hat yelled at the captain and ran into an alleyway after the laughter of his brother. What was he referring to there, Captain? Smoker asked, glaring at the Marine. The captain stiffened, eyes widening. Nothing. It was nothing, sir. Smoker narrowed his eyes at the Marine before turning back around. Direct me to Fusha village, then go handle the fire from the explosion. Smoker stalked through the city, observing the nobles. Several of them were jumpy, and there were those who were clearly wearing clothes that had yet to be cleaned. Smoker knew of the nobles of the Goa kingdom, of the pride they had in their appearances and their wealth, yet he did not see those nobles now. Given the rants Garp had gone on a few times regarding them and what Smoker had seen when he had visited it when he had come here at the beginning of the crisis, the stark difference in appearance was a surprise. Walking out the side gates, Smoker walked along a path, windmills in the distance. The teen in the top hat ran past. "Luffy, I swear to fuck." He screamed at the woods, the laughter from earlier echoing out from it. "It is not hunting day, don't you dare. Ichiji will be pissed." Smoker chuckled. "Excuse me, young man," he called out. The teen slid to a stop and looked back. "What do you want, Marine?" Clear distrust in the Marines, not that Smoker blamed him. "I'm hoping to talk to Sengoku and Tsuru. Are they still at Fusha village?" "Yeah, they'll be at Makino's bar," the teen said, then ran ahead to the village. "Luffy, if you need to eat, then eat from the food we already have. Do not go hunting." Smoker walked into the village and looked around. It was of a decent size, although most of the people seemed to have hidden away because of his presence. Seeing the bar, he walked in. "Welcome," the bartender yelled out, a green-haired young man with swirly eyebrows. "What'll you have?" "Nothing, I'm still on the clock." Smoker shook his head. "Sengoku, Tsuru," he greeted them as he stood in front of their table. "Admiral Smoker." Sengoku raised his spoon in greeting, then returned to eating his sundae. Tsuru raised her beer mug. "We're not coming out of retirement." "I already figured." Smoker took a puff of his cigars. "I'm here to ask for what you may know about how the Barrel Pirates knew you were here. I've been pretty quiet aside from when I lost control of my hockey when I learned that Kong killed Yumi. That attracted some Marines, but that's it." Sengoku shrugged. "By the way, I went and talked to the bandits about the pirates that ran into the woods. They're all dead, so you can tell the Marines they don't need to go looking." "Good to know," Smoker nodded. "Can you explain me to what I've heard about the burning of the Grey Line? When they have to, the nobles of the Goa Kingdom burn the Grey Line in order to get rid of it and all the people that live there, often killing many," Tsuru explained. "Garp kept trying to find some way to make what they were doing illegal but never got anywhere with that. And the Marines just allow it?" Tsuru raised her eyebrow at Smoker. "They're the nobles' personal army, just with a Marine coat on their shoulders. Average practice for kingdoms like Goa." Smoker sked. "Of course. I'll be going then. Any advice for me?" "Leave the Marines," both of them said at the same time. Smoker sighed. "Noted. It was good to see you both. Enjoy your retirement." The two sat in silence for a few moments after he left. "You can relax, Yanji," Sengoku told him. "You can let everyone know it's safe to come out." "All right, do you know where Luffy is?" Yanji asked as he looked at the pillar of smoke in Goa. His question was answered when Ichiji let out a yell as Luffy ran into town laughing. Dragging behind him was a crying crocodile. "I told you that they need at least a month before we could hunt them again. Put him back or I swear I won't hunt for you again." Ichiji yelled at Luffy. Egghead Island. Kizaru sighed as his ship was pulled by a robot dolphin into port. "They seem to have finished construction." "Oh, Sentomaru." He waved with a laugh. "Uncle Kizaru." Sentomaru waved back. "Is that a leopard?" Kizaru tilted his head as he looked at the albino leopard next to Sentomaru. Its axe-head tail gave him an idea of what he was looking at. "This is Shinra, she's my axe." Sentomaru smiled. "I see. Well, I'm here to collect Vegapunk's devil fruits and something about a new creation of his, whatever his current project is, a report at most for that. I don't have time to stay and party, unfortunately." He patted Sentomaru on the head and petted Shinra. "Let's get going. Why don't you give me a tour?" "Another time, Borsellino." Vegapunk yelled out as he bounded forward. "Saturn is insistent on devil fruits being delivered as soon as possible. It's good to see you though, my friend. Here is the current batch of devil fruits, alongside my report on my progress with producing them." Bridget lifted the crates up and took them onto the ship. "As well, please keep watch over this case, it is important." "Oh, is it your current project?" Kizaru hummed. "Indeed, immense progress has been made with it. My report on it is within the case." Vegapunk nodded. "And do come by when you have the chance. I would love to properly catch up with you." Bridget stepped off the ship, giving Kizaru a flat look. "Everything's at the ready for transport. Still don't get why Saturn won't let me transport them myself." "Actually, that reminds me, Akainu wants to know why you showed up at Dressrosa," Kizaru asked. "Vegapunk needed some things from Punk Hazard." Bridget shrugged. "He didn't want to have to go through the paperwork, so he sent me to talk with Doflamingo to get permission." "Ah, that tracks," Kizaru chuckled. "Before he got you helping him, he would always have me help him get past the paperwork walls." Bridget looked at Kizaru with a critical eye. Unlike Sakazuki, Borsellino did what he did in the old timeline due to indoctrination and a sense of brokenness with what happened with Kuma. Is he past the point of no return though already, or does he have a chance? We'll see, he thought to himself. Well, if you could help me out with a few things as a Marine, see Vegapunk needs some notes regarding the people getting these devil fruits, think you could handle that? We've been looking for an official Marine delegate for that but haven't had any luck. That would be a wonderful idea, Vegapunk nodded. Since I already trust Borsellino, I don't need to be concerned about him not doing his job. Seems I might get that tour after all while you handle the paperwork for that, Kizaru nudged Sentomaru with a smile. Let's set up some guards here then. Bridget pressed a button and several robots came out of the waters around the ship, their eyes glowing red. Maybe we can have that reunion party after all for you guys. Paradise with Frankie. Frankie leaned back on the railing of the Marine ship as they began to sail through the calm belt. Wonder what they used to sail through it, I'll figure it out another time, he thought to himself. We're making better time than expected, the currents are favoring us, a Marine said to their captain. We should arrive at Logue Town by tonight so long as the weather continues to remain favorable. Hey big bro, we're going to get drinking, you wanna join? One of his engineers came up to him with a smile, her long blue hair tied up. Non-alcoholic, we're going to be arriving tonight so I want all of you at your best. How are you doing, Jinx? Frankie asked as he stood up and patted her on the head. I'm all right, have they? Jinx struggled to find her words. Nothing about that Silco fella you're worried about or your big sister. But I'm still waiting to hear back on a few fronts so don't go losing hope, Frankie assured her. How's Victor doing? Any trouble breathing? They both walked below deck to where the rest of what was being called the Frankie family were at. Nope, and Jace is being the usual worrywart for him. And of course, we're trying to keep Hatsum from blowing anything up with her tinkering. Wouldn't be the same without it all, Frankie laughed. Has Zambai called from the other ship? Yup, everything's good over there, I'll go let them know about how close we are. Jinx ran off into the ship past everyone. Frankie fondly sighed. So far so good, idiot Berg. He grabbed some cola and switched out his empty bottles. It's fine, it's all fine, he nervously spoke to himself. This was a big thing from Iceberg and Frankie wanted it to go right because that would fully secure him from ever having to build another ship. He was still at fault for whatever was done to Tom, it was his ships that got his father taken by the world government. He's fine with building equipment and buildings, making blueprints from the ships they took apart, but never again will he build a ship, and he means to ensure that. Water 7. Iceberg sat in the first drop, a bar that one of Frankie's people had built. The little city district that the dismantling yard had become was completely silent. Everyone had quickly become used to how loud it was, the bright lights, and much like for Iceberg it was disconcerting how silent and dull it had become without its people. He poured himself a glass of whiskey and downed it. Frankie's fine, he knows what he's doing and he can protect himself. Mayor, Khalifa called out, Kaku walking alongside her. Is everything okay? Oh, sorry Khalifa, just worried for our dismantlers. They're very skilled, I'm sure they'll do good work, Kaku assured Iceberg as he sat next to him. It's not that, I'm worried what happens if they have to stand up for themselves. There's word of some egotistical Marines in the East Blue. I'm scared of what happens if they end up butting heads. Iceberg shook his head. I'm sorry for disappearing like that. Khalifa adjusted her glasses. It's fine, Mayor. The seas actually favored them. We got word that they are ahead and will be arriving at Logue Town later today. I'm certain they won't end up in any trouble that they are not forced into. They were all understanding of the different rules they had to work with for this job. Yeah, Kaku agreed. Aside from their parties they largely keep to themselves. You're right, it's just jitters from this being their first major job, Iceberg sighed. What's the progress on the ships that King Cobra commissioned? They'll soon be ready to be picked up, Khalifa said as they walked out of the bar after Iceberg left some money on the counter. We're also making good progress on the marine ships as well. We have begun work to reclaim the shallowest ring in the ocean as the island is turned into a ship. We've kept watch on Aqua Laguna, and we should be able to secure the 2 top rings before it comes about. Excellent, Iceberg smiled, his fears ebbing away. Later that night, Logue Town. Smoker stepped off his ship and the barrel pirates were escorted away to be questioned and then sent to impel down. Looking around he looked at the town with a fond gaze, nothing like the end and the beginning town. Admiral Smoker, Tashiji greeted him, that's the dismantlers in the distance. She pointed behind him and he turned around, seeing 3 marine ships sailing towards them. How were Sengoku and Tsuru? Good, they didn't want to come out of retirement. Seems at least with some of the barrel pirates they attacked to kill Sengoku because they blamed him for their captain's death. Smoker hummed as the ships docked and a large amount of people came off of 2 of them. Which one is in charge? The wide variety of appearances made it difficult to figure out who was the head dismantler. That'd be me. A man in an open floral shirt and in a Speedo walked up to them. "Name's Frankie, it's super." He put his forearms together in a pose, making a large star with the tattoos on his forearm. "Nice to meet you. Where will we be working?" He smiled broadly, propping his sunglasses up as he looked around. "Wow, this is where Gold Roger died. I've got to see the execution platform before we have to go. We have a small dock area normally dedicated to housing the marine ships, but we've emptied it out so you can use it to dismantle the ships," Tashigi explained after a moment of bewilderment at Frankie's everything. "We have also set aside a space for all of you to live in while staying here." "Sounds good. What do you want to do with the materials after we dismantle the ships?" Frankie asked as they walked into Logue Town. "You could use them as building supplies if that sounds good." "That sounds like a good idea," Smoker agreed. "We'll use our ships to transport the supplies. Is there anything you require before you get to work?" "We like to party, we'll try to keep it on the down low though," Frankie laughed. "Just don't break anything and it should be fine," Smoker said as they walked into the town square, the execution platform standing tall over everyone. "The living quarters and dock you'll be working from are that way," Smoker directed them. "The bars are that way and you saw the shops. All I ask is you don't disturb Logue Town's peace as pirates would." "All right everyone, you've got the rules. Go unpack and get used to the town," Frankie yelled out to his dismantlers. "You run your crew well," Smoker complimented. "They're just hoping to get back home soon. We're used to living in a place like it and it's really weird being here for us." Frankie shrugged. "I mean, you've got no canals or anything, what's up with that?" Tashigi covered her mouth as she chuckled. Smoker rolled his eyes. "Logue Town has its charm, I'm sure you'll see it soon enough." "With Nami?" Nami struggled to adjust the sails, trying to tie a rope, and it kept going flying in the wind. "Fuck." She cursed as it slipped from her grip again. She jumped a bit to grab it and lost her balance and fell to the boat's floor again. Letting out a heavy sigh, she sat up and with much difficulty managed to tie the rope, having to use her teeth to keep it in place as she tied it tight. "Just need a little longer, fucking barrel pirates making everyone be paranoid," she muttered to herself bitterly. She had to go past several islands because they were on high alert, and the only town she could actually stop at wouldn't have the kind of money she needed. She did steal the money of a green-haired teen though, so she got something out of it. Adjusting the rudder, she rode the currents and saw Logue Town in the distance. Normally she wouldn't come here, the heart of the Marines in East Blue was a massive risk, but she needed to get something or this trip was pointless. And Arlong would say that because she couldn't keep making money, then she would pay off her debt by making more maps and lock her within that accursed room. She could hear his laugh now as he locked her in with barely enough food and water, having to use her blood as ink for the maps because she ran out and was too afraid to ask for more. Never able to see Nojiko again or to see Belmir's grave. Her beloved orchard, not even able to see in the distance. Pulling her boat behind a docked ship, she stumbled off and looked around. "Okay, I can do this, she coughed into her elbow as she limped into Logue Town. The next day, Frankie observed as they were already underway getting the ships dismantled. "This shouldn't take us long, the ships aren't complicated or too big." He drank some cola as he drew out a blueprint of one of the ships. "A few days at most, nothing too bad." Smoker nodded. "Good to know. The rest of the ships are being delivered today, let us know if your estimate changes." He walked out of the docks and back into Logue Town. The marine docks were a fairly new addition alongside a few other buildings and changes, all with the Marines' efforts to build a Marine HQ in each sea. Logue Town had been chosen for the East Blue, and there were still a few additions to be added before it was considered ready to be called as such. "Tashigi, what is the word on the search for any barrel pirate stragglers?" "A few were found, although some of them are dead," Tashigi reported. "What?" "The orders were to take them alive for questioning." Tashigi sighed. "It was Morgan. And he's the one bringing the other ships here." Smoker took a long drag of his cigars. "Perfect, just what we need. Keep an eye on them once they get here. I'm going to go on patrol around town, contact me if I'm needed." Elsewhere, Nami limped through the streets, listening to everyone around her for the signs of a wealthy person. Unfortunately, all that most of the people seemed to want to talk about were the dismantlers from Water 7. Under different circumstances, Nami would be curious about people from the Grand Line and would seek out stories about the dangerous sea, but she was zeroed in on making some quick cash. She wanted to get some sort of prosthetic for her arm to help her with sailing, and that needed to be custom built, much like the boot she needed for her foot. That needed money and a lot of it, and she refused to take from what she had saved up to buy back Kokoyashi Village. Slipping past a well-dressed man, she grabbed his wallet with practiced ease and was already out of sight by the time he yelled out that he had been robbed, but it had taken her longer than she would have liked. The longer she was near someone she stole from, the more at risk she was at being caught. Her limp was already proving dangerous for her, and she hadn't even had to run away from someone yet. Shoving the wallet into her bag, she trudged on. Gradually, people began to talk about how more of the Barrel Pirates' ships were being brought in by the Marines to be dismantled. Grabbing a few wallets along the way, Nami got back to the docks and looked out at the horizon, the afternoon sun blazing down on the town. She had moved her ship to a more hidden part of the docks, thankfully, but even still she wanted to make sure nothing happened to it. As one of the ships docked, a large man with an axe where his hand once was stepped off. Morgan looked around, expecting an official greeting from Smoker or Tashigi, but he saw nothing of the sort. He felt his anger rise at the fact and stomped through the docks towards where the dockmaster was. "I'm here with the rest of the ships. Give me the forms to sign now," he ordered. "Here you go, sir." The dockmaster gave Morgan the paperwork and pen. He quickly signed them, simple protocol when handling pirate ships like this, but he considered it beneath him. "Thank you, sir." Nami's focus was on where her ship was, and when her sight line was lost, she limped to another spot to be able to get a better view. Her focus on maintaining her balance caused her to not pay attention to the people moving as closely as she normally would, and she ran right into Morgan. Her balance was lost and she fell to the ground, her bag falling to the ground, but thankfully nothing fell out. She reached out to pick it up as she forced herself to her knees, but Morgan stomped on it, startling her. "Watch where you walk, rat, you dirted my coat." Nami folded in on herself as people focused on her missing arm and mangled foot. "I'm sorry, sir," she mumbled as the ringing in her ears increased in volume. All she could hear was Arlong's laughter. She grabbed her bag, but Morgan didn't move his foot. "Speak up, rat," Morgan snapped at her. He knocked her aside and picked up her bag. "Show proper appreciation to the man who saved many from the Barrel Pirates." Nami felt herself grow flushed. "Thank you for saving us, sir. Forgive me, sir." She hated doing this, but she was in no state to do anything. She was still physically weak from her injuries, had yet to figure out how to better move with her foot as it is. She was also pretty certain she was sick given how she had been feeling recently. She could feel herself hitting rock bottom over and over with every phantom pain she felt, and now here she was. If Morgan opened her bag, it was over for her and her village. "Pilly dash," she prepared to beg. Suddenly Morgan was decked across the face and Nami's bag wrenched out of his grip. "The hell is wrong with you?" Frankie yelled at him. He had come over to take count of and inspect the rest of the ships to be able to give a better estimate to Smoker when he came across Morgan bullying a young girl. It reminded him too much of when he had been homeless in Water 7 and when Tom had been taken from his family. So, he acted on instinct. "Where do you get off on treating a kid like that?" Tashigi kneeled next to Nami. "Are you okay?" She had come to greet Morgan and make sure nothing happened between him and Frankie. She had failed on both accounts, but she didn't really care about that. Nami was breathing heavily, barely able to hear anything. She reached out for her bag in Frankie's hand, only to receive a boot to the head from Morgan. "Don't think we're dash." Frankie launched himself at Morgan and pummeled him while Tashigi picked up Nami, the stitches on her head broken and the wound bleeding again. She ran through the streets, right to where the Marines' infirmary had been moved with all the changes to make Logue Town into the Marine HQ of the East Blue. The docks where Frankie and his dismantlers were working from. Back with Frankie, he had taken his glove off and was using his metal fist to lay the beat down on Morgan. "What the hell is going on?" Smoker yelled as he pulled Frankie off of the unconscious Morgan. "What do you think you're doing? Keep that fucker the hell away from my people." Frankie yelled at Smoker, pushing him away. "Admiral Smoker." A Marine ran up to them. Commodore Tashigi said to not arrest head dismantler Frankie. "She'll explain at the infirmary," the Marine panted. Tashigi had sent him running here once she realized what could happen once Smoker came upon the scene. 3 days later. Nami groaned as she opened her eyes, squinting at the light shining in them. She covered her eyes with her hand and felt metal. Her eyes slammed open and she looked at her left hand, brand new. "What the?" She sat up and twisted the wrist of the prosthetic. It was red and had a part that covered part of her remaining left arm. Ripping the covers off, she saw a similar designed prosthetic on her foot. She carefully it and felt no pain. Realizing her tattoo was exposed, she quickly looked around and found her cover on the bedside right next to her bag. She quickly put it on and cased the room, but there were only 2 doors and no windows. She saw some mechanics' tools on a table and grabbed a wrench. She quickly laid back down and pulled the covers over herself, closing her eyes. One of the doors opened and someone whistling walked in, closing it behind them. "I know you're awake," Frankie chuckled. "Only I and one of my people worked in here once you got new stitches. No one saw your tattoo if that's what you're worried about. Nami kept a tight grip on the wrench as she sat up and properly looked at two people. The large man that had protected her from Morgan and a lean woman with long blue hair. Hey, how are the prosthetics? Jinx asked, coming over to examine them. Can you move the fingers, please? Nami hesitantly followed the instructions Jinx gave her. Who are you guys? This wonderful genius is Jinx. Frankie mussed up Jinx's hair. And my name's Frankie. Can we get yours? Nami, why? Nami twisted her ankle as Jinx instructed. I mean, you were bleeding, so the infirmary makes sense to bring you here. Jinx raised her eyebrow but shrugged as she began to pack up her tools. Frankie went over to the table and began to pack up his tools. You can keep the wrench, you'll need to tighten up the bolts at your wrist and ankle periodically. Jinx stepped out and Frankie closed his toolbox. I put the necessary lubricant and instructions for maintenance in your bag. The prosthetics should last you a good couple of years, but you'll need to get new ones to match up with how your body grows. If you can come to Water 7 on the Grand Line and come find me or Jinx, we'd be happy to build them. Nami carefully looked in her bag and saw all of the wallets she grabbed still in there, only now they were tied together with some string. I ain't gonna ask what's with all the wallets, but you should probably head out before anyone asks, Frankie warned before he left the room. There aren't any guards, now would be a good time. Nami grabbed her bag after a minute and ran out of the infirmary. Falling back into her old habits, she climbed to the rooftops and ran across them to the docks. Jumping into her ship, she untied it and let the sails out to catch the wind. She felt back in her element again, balanced, the prosthetics were perfect. And she hadn't been asked for any money, nothing. It was a kindness that she had not seen in so long. Water 7, alright, I'll find you two and pay you back. I'll make sure of it. She cheered, the weight on her shoulders lessened. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. Support the writer. Don't forget to like, sub, share and donate for more videos.